Good evening, YouTube. What is going on? How's it going? It's Anger Management Podcast. Anthony, Mike, what's going on?
How's it going,
It's going good. It's going good, actually. You know, it's another Saturday here. We got a lot of tournament stuff going on, some bracket busts possibly. A lot of stuff going on here with the sports, basketball too. Crazy things happening recently.
You know, I used to think that like trees blooming and flowers blooming, you know, and a little bit of the temperatures rising, that was the official signal that spring had started, that summer was on the way. You know what actually is the signal that spring is here? The NCAA tournament.
Yep, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Of nonstop action, some surprises, some non-surprises, but I think the tournament officially kicks off summer and spring.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You know it's here. It's right around that time, and honestly, it's just been crazy with how this tournament's kind of panned out, right? It hasn't been great as far as we haven't seen buzzer beaters yet. We haven't seen anything come down to the wire for the most part. A lot of blowouts, things like that. But obviously today a huge loss with number 2 St. John's going down to 10 Arkansas, right? That's a huge loss on that. But before we get into this, guys, we are going to break down some tournament stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit of load management things, and also Mike's going to bring us home today with some WrestleMania and his rank these. I don't know if you guys remember, but we just kind of blindly do these rankings. That will pick a category each one of us will do each week. I did the first episode. Mike did the second one with last week, which was jerseys. The first one we did with him was sports movies. So today we will do Mike's ranks these at the end of the day, but we're going to start off the show here real quick with just a little tribute thing here to Mr. George Foreman, who recently passed away. Mike, you were able to watch some of his matches, right? You watch a lot of him. What kind of a boxer was he to you? You know, was he somebody that you favored, or was he one of those villains to you, or what was George Foreman to you?
You know, George was like the ultimate, he's like this dichotomy, but he is, when he was in his heyday as a boxer and when I was a kid, I mean, he was that guy you did not like. You know, he was the villain. He was very stoic, didn't say a whole lot, as obviously in comparison to like the Alis and things like that. He just came out, but he was brute force. He was kind of like a precursor to Tyson. Just came into the ring. He's all business. He's not about talking. He's just about, let's just get in there. Yeah. Let's just put the dukes up. We don't need to talk. Let the fist, determine the outcome, and let's just move on. And I really didn't think he was really that great of a boxer when I first became familiar with him, but he kind of grew on me from a respect perspective. Yeah. And he had some great fights, and obviously became a world champion and deserves it. And actually, even more so, I was impressed later on in life when he came back in his, I think it was his late 40s. Bud.
That's what I was just, because I was going to say, what was his last fight? At 97, he was 48 years old. That's what I was going to say. He fought late.
He got the title back.
Exactly.
But it wasn't like some guy, guys laying down and just, giving him some mercy and letting him grab a title. He went out and he earned, even when he came out of retirement, he earned the victories. He wasn't there just, messing around.
He had 81 total fights, 76-5 with 68 wins by knockout. That's pretty good.
I mean, the dude was,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, one was badass. But what was great, what was really bizarre with him was as menacing as he was in his career, his first go around as a boxer, because when you're talking about when he was 48 and he came back, he was very affable. Everybody liked him. Everybody was rooting for him. And so when he won his first chip, he wasn't that likable guy. He was the guy you booed. He didn't appeal to a lot of fans. But what was amazing to me is, and even you got to see some of his stuff, away from boxing. Guy became very personal. He's very funny. I mean, he's the reason. He literally, folks, I don't know how many people you get online and you shop and you think about buying things and all that kind of stuff. And then sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I thought this is one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen in my life. I'd get on there periodically, look at, the different crap that people were offering. I thought, man, this is crap. I bet none of this stuff is worth anything. I finally saw one day, I get on there, and just by accident, George Foreman is on there, and he's selling this device. And I'm like, what is this? And he starts talking about how it makes sandwiches and hamburgers.
That's the George Foreman. I wasn't, unfortunately for me, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of his stuff. Obviously, I seen him as he got older. He wasn't the same fighter that Mike is kind of explaining here, because I seen him at a later age. I mean, 97 was his last fight. I was 7 years old at that time. So I remember seeing a little bit of him. So I don't know anything but a lot of old videos and stuff. But he definitely was a fighter. That's for sure. He was strong. He stuck in. He fought a lot of tough fighters. Yeah, there was a lot of fighters that he took on that were very good. Top of their peak too. At the same time he was. But he, also for me, like I said, that's the George Foreman I know. Like what you were getting into, Mike, was the George Foreman grill, right? that's the thing.
Yeah, and ironically, it actually worked. And it was one. I still have one. I have always had one. George Foreman grill. I've had one since I saw the first time he started advertising these things. But I ordered one, and I said, man, this thing is great. So I have one as I'm talking to you and everybody else right now. I still have one, folks. This thing is awesome. I highly recommend anybody, if you ever want something that cooks like that, hamburger, chicken, sandwiches, George Foreman grill. But so it was great to see him appeal to people on the back end, but become likable and all this stuff. But one thing he did say, I saw an interview with him, and and he fought Frazier, and he fought Ali, and he fought a lot of good fighters. He said, the person asked him, they said, so of all the fights you had, was there any fighter that you ever saw or you fought and just literally scared the living crap out of you? He said, yeah, there's one guy. He said, who is it? He says, it's Mike Tyson. I absolutely did not want to get hit by this dude. I mean, for George Foreman,
I don't blame him.
George
Foreman
had a pile driver for a hand. He had a pile driver for a hand, both hands. And for this guy to say that about Mike Tyson, that says a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure.
A lot of athletes have passed away, bud, over these last year or so. We've talked to you about it, me and your dad. And your dad and I saw a lot of these athletes, baseball, football, etc. When I texted you and your dad that last night about Foreman, that actually kind of hit me because I really did like the guy. He was a good dude. And to see him, pass on. And it's 76.
Yeah,
now that might be a long
definitely
fighter, but 76 in a regular lifespan, that's kind of short.
Yeah, it is.
But that kind of bummed me out. So just to the Foreman family, whoever is still out there, obviously the kids. All my sympathies from myself and Anthony. Your dad was a tremendous fighter, and on the back end, he became an absolutely tremendous person. And for me personally, I like fighting. I like boxing. I still do. It's just not what it used to be.
Yeah.
But I always think fondly of George Foreman.
And once again, what sports are what they used to be anymore? You know what I mean? That's the problem. And see, that's another thing. We're going to get into this a lot, folks. And, obviously, for real, Mike, for sure, there definitely goes out to the family here. Our condolences. But, tremendous person. Great boxer, and he will be missed for sure. But this is something that we've always talked about, guys, and that we're getting sick and tired of is why are none of these sports the same anymore? They're not. You know what I mean? And we're going to get into this with some of this tournament talk because not only are we going to go into the men's where we talked about there hasn't been a lot of good games, there hasn't been a lot of close ones. We haven't got to see a buzzer beater yet, but not just in this tournament. But Mike, I know you kind of felt the same about the women's tournament and just the amount of just blowouts in the women's, right? I mean, it's insane to the point where not just the amount of them, like that there's a lot of teams blowing out, it's the amount of the blowout, right? I mean, you're talking about, what was it, 60 points at South Carolina won, UConn, allowed only like 25 points or something. It's insane how that works. What are your thoughts on why this is happening in both, I guess, in the men's and the women this year?
Well, I'm going to speak to women's basketball first, and actually, folks, Anthony and I have talked about this. I think we even did this in a previous podcast, maybe and just briefly. But here's what I got to say about this with the women, and I think women's basketball is great. They're very competitive, very athletic. When the talent is really there, and this applies to any team, but we're talking about the women's college game right now. When the talent is right, you get a good product.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't. That's just the reality of it. Not here to bash women, Women are great. I love seeing them in sports. I highly endorse it. So let's not even go there. I love women in sports. They're great. But when you've got a team, and we're talking women's tournament here, right? And they just
Yeah.
recently, within the last few years, expanded to 64 teams. You can't have 60-point disparities. You can't have a team scoring 25 points. I'm sorry. UConn giving up 35 points. This is ridiculous. I understand that these teams that they're beating, they earn the right to be there. But if you can't produce a better product than this, and this isn't limited. Anthony just mentioned South Carolina does it. UConn does it. There was
I'm looking at it right now. So in day one, South Carolina won 108-48. UCLA beat Southern 84-46.
Yeah.
Duke beat Lehigh 86-25. Notre Dame beat Stephen F. Austin 106-54. Kansas State beat Fairfield. That's a 5-12 matchup, 85-41.
That's not a competitive.
There's a 5-12 too. The 5-12, which we'll get into because we're going to talk about this, but the 5-12s in the men's are usually the upsets, right? There's a lot of upsets. There is a big one coming up with CSU beating Memphis, right? But then in the women's, 101-66 Tennessee beating South Florida in that one, right? So there are a lot of blowouts. And today, today's blowouts consisted of Iowa was 92-57.
Almost a 40-point loss.
And that's without Caitlin.
This is what I'm saying.
UConn beat Arkansas State 103-34.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the problem, folks, is, if you look at the men's part of it, yes, like Anthony mentioned, and we all know if you're fans of college basketball in the tournament, college men's basketball teams, you do have those games where the team loses in the first round, sometimes by 30 points. Duke just put a beat down, yesterday on a team. So you get it. But you're putting these women's teams, these lower seeded women's teams into these games that they have no hope of winning.
Yeah.
It's not even a competitive game. It's a beat down that those girls walk away from. They're not appreciative of the moment. They just got their backsides handed to them by 60 plus points. That's not a game. That's just a
So do you not think that there'll ever be a 16 to finally beat a 1 or anything like that in women's?
No, I don't.
I mean, we used to think the same thing about men's. We used to think there was a long period, there was a long period of time that it went before anybody even thought a 16 could ever beat a 1 until it finally happened. It just recently happened with the 16 beating the 1 within the last 5 to 10 years it happened.
Last year, yeah.
Well, it was that, but that's just the first though, right? I mean, 16 beat a 1 before last year. I mean, I'm talking about the first time it ever happened. But I mean, the tournament's been going on since the 70, 80. I mean, so here's the thing: in the 80s and 90s, whoever thought a 16 seed would beat a 1? I don't think you go through either one of those decades ever thinking, because it never happened either. So they went so long. Now, do I think it can happen? I don't think it can. I think that the talent level is just way too high on those number 1 teams, the South Carolinas and the UConns that make it, and these other teams. They're just the talent level is too high. It's not really. I mean. That's just the problem. Like, with the guys, it's just always something can happen. The women, for some reason, it's just like, I don't know what it is. It's like they get there and it's just like they just realize, oh, it's kind of over. That's kind of what I feel like. Yeah, we just got here, but we're 16 seed, like we don't really stand a chance. We're just going to kind of let it go. And I don't think they should have that mentality. I hope they don't have that mentality, but it just kind of seems that way. Because how do you lose a game by 60 points, 40 points? You know what I mean? Like, that, to me... where's the heart? Like, you can't tell me that was the best you guys put up. To only put up 25 points. Now, I get these teams are good. I get South Carolina is very good. UCLA. I get these teams are good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here thinking that they're going to win. But where's the heart to say 25 points only? For a whole game?
Okay, but here's the thing. So you scored 34, 35 points in the entire game. I didn't watch this. And I'm sorry, this is another part I'm trying to make, is that because of the disparity here, it's very rare, and I like the women's tournament, I do. I'm not watching the first round. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. This is exactly. So here's my point, bud. So you scored 35 points for the entire game. So what did you have at halftime? Did you have half of that? Did you have 17 for a half of basketball? Or did you have 20 and you scored 15? I don't know. I didn't break this down.
Well, let's see. Let's see what one of these might have been, and let's just kind of see what.
Look at that.
Well, let's just look at the UConn game, right? Let's see here.
Yeah, look at that game.
Arkansas State had 16 at the half. They scored 18 in the second half.
16 they were
points
down, in a half of basketball.
34-5 at the end of the first quarter.
34-5. 34. You could only score 5 points in one period of basketball. See, this is the disparity that still haunts the women's college game. And I know it's popular. I know that it's so popular now that the NCAA felt like they needed to expand to 64 teams. That was a mistake. I told Anthony off camera today and his dad, you need to go back to 32 teams. You really do. You can't. You got to put aside the profit margin that the NCAA is hoping to take advantage of, and you've got to get 32 teams in there and 16 against 16, and let them play it out because you're going to get better basketball.
Yeah, but what do you do about these teams that deserve to get that got in? These 16s and 14s and 15s. What are you supposed to do with them though? Give them their own tournament or do something? But they got. There's a reason they got in there. So what's going to happen is you go to 32. What do you just break it down to a lower? So you just go 1 through 8. Is that what would that be like? So you're just taking top 8 seeds or no? Was that what it would be? Or
okay.
Is that what? So that's you're just taking like 1 through 8. So but the thing is you're going to miss out some teams, right? I mean that should still really be in that are good, right? Or are you just basically saying that no matter what in the women's game, like 1s and 2s are basically that's it?
Well, my first rebuttal would be, well, why did they increase it to 64 in the first place? What was your point? Did you really
to give
feel
these girls another chance, I guess, to get a game in?
It's all money, and I'm not saying that the men's isn't. The men's is all about money too because it's a massive cash flow. I get it's a cash cow beyond cash cows with the men. I understand that. I get what Bud's saying about but they deserve to be there. But if you're not going to allow for a competitive product, it becomes pointless. You're not going to continue to sell tickets. You'll sell it to the team that's ranked 16th coming in to play the 1 seed, in that particular bracket. I get that. Those fans will show up, yeah, and maybe some people in the city that it's being played in will show up. You're not going to get the audiences for this because of this one problem. You're also looking for television viewers. You're not going to continue to get that if this is the kind of product you offer. They do not want to see. I don't want to see 60-point blowouts. This is why I don't watch it in the first place, because this is what you have happen. So if that's what you're going to allow, you'll never achieve the viewers that you hope to, even just on the women's level, because people aren't going to watch that. They don't want to see that. I don't want to see the Detroit Lions at 0-15 playing the Pittsburgh Steelers at 15-0. I know what's going to happen. Detroit's not going to win that game.
Yeah, but
not if the Steelers are trying. This is exactly what you get.
So what? For you, where are you blaming this? Is it the talent level? Is it the players? Or what about coaching? I mean, how far does this go even on coaching? Is this a coaching problem too, though, when it comes? I mean, you don't have your girls prepared enough to put up more than 25 points?
You made the perfect point when you first started talking about this, bud. And I get this. And let's look at UConn. And I'm not even talking about this game. Let's look back a few years when UConn was the team that was winning every single championship. Every single one. Occasionally a Stanford would interrupt that. Occasionally maybe a Notre Dame would interrupt that. Maybe somebody would open the door and slip in for 1 year and UConn didn't get a championship. But for the most part, they were running the table because, like Bud just mentioned, and this, I get it. And we're seeing this now with the NIL, but with basketball, with the women's game, that's everybody, every girl in the country wanted to go play for UConn.
Yeah, you're right.
They did. Every girl in the country wanted to play for Tennessee, those type of things. But, see, there's the problem. They only have like 12 slots that they can allow for, so not everybody can go. But they get the cream of the crop. And it's just not realistic because the women can't, and again, ladies, I'm not knocking on you. I know you're going to come back at me with spit and fire. You can't perform on the level that men do. You just can't do it. So when you've got a Connecticut playing on McNeese State, you know what's going to happen. We're seeing it right here. We're seeing what happened with UConn beating the living crap out of this team, by almost 60 points because the talent level is so unbalanced in basketball, in women's basketball, that this is what you routinely get. Anthony just ran off 5 games probably, where the score is ridiculous. If you go back to 32, allow the women to have another tournament, do whatever you want with it, NIT or whatever you want to call it. It's great. Everybody gets to participate. You probably get some better balanced games because they're on the same level as who they're playing against. So allow some of these teams just to play. Go back to 32. You're going to get more competitive basketball, better product, and it's going to do wonders for your ratings. But you keep putting this stuff out there, people aren't going to watch anything. I'm not going to watch this stuff. This is why I don't watch the first round. This is exactly why.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Coaching is coaching. You coach what you have, but there's some good coaches out there. I mean, if you're coaching a team to the tournament, like Bud just said, yeah, you're a good enough team in your conference to get to the tournament. So you've got a good coach, you've got some decent players, but you don't have what you need to win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
You just don't.
I'm with you for sure, Mike. I get that the first round is a little bit bumpy, but they have shown though, and see, once you get to like that, Sweet 16 Elite, they do play real well. And it does get exciting. So I get what you're saying about, pushing it down to the 32 or whatever. But, I don't mind it. It gives these girls an extra chance to play. It actually makes them learn a little bit more as when they play a team a little bit. I mean, it maybe doesn't learn so much because you're getting blown out and it probably doesn't feel great. But at the same time, they do get to play better competition. They get to see what it's like. Hopefully they take it more as a learning experience as more than just an ass kicking. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Because then it just makes you a better player in the end. That's just what it is. So, but we'll see. Yeah. We move on. But moving on from this, then we're gonna get into some tournament talk. Obviously now. Man, my bracket's gone, Mike. I mean, I'm just gonna let everybody know. I had Texas A&M in the Final Four, and that didn't pan out too well. But we're gonna start off here day one before we get into the round of 32 here. Day one was a little bit wide open, Mike. I mean, it was just an easy run. Other than the big one, I guess we can talk about is the loss for Clemson to McNeese, right? 5-12 matchup we just talked about. There was a couple of 5-12 matchups, sorry, that were one of them we thought for sure we knew, which was the Colorado State Memphis game. But this one was a little bit tougher, Mike. I wanted to go McNeese. I did. I liked McNeese, but in the end, knowing that Clemson was one of the teams to beat Duke, I thought Clemson maybe was kind of making a push here towards the end. I even had them running off 2 games rather than just the one, and they end up getting beat by McNeese, right? Did you have Clemson winning that, or did you have McNeese?
No, I had Clemson winning. Now the ACC's down to one team, obviously. That's Duke, and
I mean it's been ran by what the Big Ten and SEC so far, right? I mean that's what it kind of.
Okay, let me ask you something real quick, and not entirely off topic. When are they going to change the name of this? Why is it the Big Ten and you've got like 30 teams in this conference? I mean, why do you continue to call it the Big Ten? Because this is ridiculous. Why don't you just call it what it is? The Big 18, the Big 20.
Because if they do that, then nobody will remember exactly what the teams are. They won't remember the conference.
I don't know. All right, but see, real quick too, then that speaks right. Let's go right back to the women just for a second, folks. How many, what is it, like 32? Is it 16? Are there not 16 teams between the SEC and the Big Ten occupying spots right now in that tournament?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, this is how ridiculous this has become. That goes back to the monopolization of these two conferences. And so the ACC now is down to 1. Surprisingly, the SEC has struggled a little bit too, but
yeah.
I mean, like you mentioned with Texas A&M and a couple other teams have really kind of had some struggles, even in their games, even though they pulled them out. Again, like you said, the first day was not that bad. It kind of went with the flow of what a lot of us expected, at least what I expected, I think, with you and your dad, too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, the 12-5 with CSU and Memphis, you and I talked about this last week and how we both thought it was probably going to go. And I just, being in the Memphis area, I have a better take on what I've seen and some of the things you hear about behind the scenes. And so for me, as I mentioned to you and your dad last night, prior to that game, that's probably the most confident I've ever been picking a 12 to beat a 5. That was not one. There wasn't 1 ounce of surprise to that for me. I think Memphis just plays in a conference that doesn't allow for them to understand the type of effort you're going to you're going to have and the competition you're going to be facing when you get to the tournament. And in those type of conferences, even that first game of the tournament becomes difficult. Particularly if you capture a hot team like CSU, who's one of the hottest teams in the country coming to this tournament.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had to win the tournament to get
They
in.
did. Yes.
So
You're right.
So when you play in these sort of like milquetoast conferences, and you come out with and you've got to travel across country, and the fan support's not going to be there, it bites you in the backside a lot of times. And that's what I think happened with Memphis. CSU is a better basketball team than Memphis, even though they weren't ranked than Memphis was. But I want to touch too. Man, I tell you what, bud. I really, I thought with Carolina's playing game, that convinced me.
They look good.
I really thought
they did.
That
They looked good. I mean, they handled them pretty well. They handled San Diego State very, very well. They beat them by 20 something. I was the same way because I did. I'm not gonna lie to you. North Carolina's another team. We spoke about this last show. I said, why couldn't North Carolina make a run? They're a team that scares everybody. They're in the first four. They're 11 seed, right? That's a team that was a double digit that could make a push. They beat the brakes off of San Diego State. Go in. They should have beat a team like Ole Miss. But they had a tough start, and that's been the problem with them this year: is slow starts, not getting off good start. Just real lackadaisical kind of seems like for them. And then for some weird reason, then they want to kick it into gear. Now they probably, if they would have played like that the whole game, they win the game by 10. Easily. They play the whole way the way they did at the end of the game. They win by 10. Instead, they lose the game, have to come down, try to win it at the end, and they lose it. So, I don't know what this says about North Carolina. I know you said that maybe it's time for Davis to maybe make a move. I don't think it is. I think I still would give him maybe a year, maybe 2 more, just to try to get this going. I know the loss of Caleb Love recently has, him being in Arizona now. That was a hurtful one. They lost their big man. I forget his name last year. But either way, he lost some players. But he's got to get something going still. But this year was rough. It was really rough, and I don't know why it shouldn't have been. They should have been a little bit better. They should have made this tournament. I'm not sitting here saying they should have been a 1 or 2, but they should have been in this tournament probably as a 5 seed or a 6 seed. They could have. They should have been, actually, I guess.
But they had Caleb last year, and look at the problems that they underachieved last year. And he transfers out, he goes to Arizona, and so they come out and they have another season, a very lackluster season. I'm not even going to sit here and put everything on Davis like Anthony mentioned, folks. I think there's something wrong within the program itself. I don't know if it's a disconnect. I don't know if it's how they game plan for the situations. I do believe that Hubert may ultimately be sort of not in the vein of what they really need to look at. I mean, granted, he's not going to be Dean Smith. He's not going to be Roy Williams. So nobody is.
Yeah, no,
but something's, and granted, everybody say, Mike, they went to the championship just a few years ago. I get it, folks. I get it. But why not build on that? Why haven't you had a lot of the same talent come back, surprisingly, and you still couldn't manage to build on that? So there's something wrong in the Carolina program. I don't know what it is, but something just isn't gelling. And then, like Bud said, they go out there and they beat the crap out of San Diego State, and then they come and they just get dominated in the first half of that game, and they're down 18, I think it was, at the break. And granted, they can make this good comeback, but like Bud said, why did you wait so long to do this? You obviously had the capabilities of winning this game, but you couldn't motivate. It's one and done. If that's not motivation, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that should be all the motivation anybody needs in the tournament is we have to win.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what's the matter, but this second day has been a little bit disappointing in the sense that a lot of the teams that I would like to win have not. I'm not an Arkansas fan.
You mean the second day or the second round?
Second round. I'm sorry. Yeah, second round. Second. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been. I had St. John's playing Duke in the championship, folks. This is the number one defensive team in the country.
Both Mike and I had some rough ones this week. I mean, today. Him losing St. John's going there. I had Texas A&M actually going to the whole championship myself, so I lost on that one too. And that's a big win because it looks like, and I hate to say it, but Michigan looks good. I mean, Michigan took on, they had to pull out a tough one against UC San Diego, but then they come and they beat up Texas A&M, a team that I thought actually could run. I thought it was going to be kind of like a sleeper number 4 pick to go through. 91-79 they beat them. 91 points they put up on them. 91, that's pretty good. I mean, I hope Michigan does not go on a tear here, but they look good. UCLA is another team that I'm kind of interested in seeing. They really, really looked good in that first game against Utah State, beating them by like 30 almost. And so, but going into the second round here, Creighton was kind of putting up a little bit of a fight with Auburn, but it looks like right now it's 65-72 with 2:30 left in this game. So still have a chance here for Creighton, but Arkansas, that is huge. Calipari obviously has that team playing really well right now. To go ahead and beat Bill Self in Kansas and then now moving on to beat Patino and St. John's, that's pretty good.
Look at BYU. I think they're up, they're up 10 right now on Wisconsin.
They are. And BYU is one of those teams that I think I had talked about when we had talked about maybe can kind of slip through as a sleeper too. And I'd be happy for them. Yeah. I hope they could. I hope they do pull that one off. That would be huge right now.
Yeah, I'm not a Big 10, Big 30, Big whatever they are, but I'm not a big Wisconsin team or fan. I do like BYU. But also look at this is where, like we talked about last week, Houston to me now really is the real deal. They're up. What is it right now? They're up about 12 on Gonzaga right now. Now that could change, but Gonzaga is not the same team they've been over the last 10 years or so.
Although they did look good in the first round, though. They did look good.
Oh, yeah,
they looked really good.
Definitely.
But that's why I'm saying that game tonight, this last game, that UCLA-Tennessee could be pretty interesting because so far the 1s and 2s were doing well up until, they took care of business, round 1. Now round 2, we've seen St. John's go down. With how good as UCLA looked, Tennessee better be careful. I think UCLA, as well as they played and as good as they looked, they could be an upset here. They could pull it off against Tennessee. Yeah. So that should actually be a pretty good game. So if you guys get a chance, I'd tune into that one for sure.
Yeah, and see, for me, with my bracket, because Anthony and I talked about ours, right before the tournament started. I literally had only one number 1 getting to the 4, and that was Duke. The other 3 were 2s. So St. John's was one of those, like I mentioned, and now they're out. So my bracket or my tournament is. It went down like a battleship. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's kind of a bummer when your whole tournament gets lit up.
It's tough when it goes on. It's tough when it's that early. It really is tough when it's that early. And you know what? To be honest with you, though, I haven't had a bracket bust this early in the past few years. It's been a while since I had one bust this early, but I did. And and I mentioned everybody, I haven't watched as much as I normally used to kind of give myself, more knowledge on these teams and stuff. So I'm kind of going based off more of the team, what conference they're in, what I've kind of just seen just beforehand, and what you hear. So that's kind of why I went the way I did with Texas A&M. Trying to go maybe the sleeper way, which that really did backfire on me for sure. But once again, there's a lot of good teams in this tournament. There's a lot of teams that are still going to make a push. I think there's teams that are higher seeds that I think we could have a chance to see, some upper seeds make its way to that Elite 8, maybe even a Final 4. Maybe. I think we were talking last week about how maybe it could be more of a chalk thing. We're going to see a lot of 1s and 2s. I don't know if we are now. These teams are really pushing. They look good. Obviously tomorrow there's gonna be some really good games. Florida, man, Florida looked really, really good, huh? I think they looked the best out of them all. So far, you think? I don't think they have any problems dealing with UConn. I know UConn's the defending champs, but they better watch out, right? I don't.
I had my thoughts about Florida during the regular season, and at one point I think I was talking to you and your dad possibly. Their last, it was Florida along with I think it was Auburn at the time, and he threw Alabama in there too. But I know that Alabama and Auburn had some wickedly tough schedules on the last 8 games of their season, folks, the regular season. Yeah. And the conference itself, you're talking about the sets. So everybody beats everybody up basically, just like they do in football. And like the Big Ten is the same thing. But the flip side of that can also be that, again, maybe it just makes these set teams, these Big Ten teams, more battle tested, because this is what they go through for an entire season. So by the time they hit the tournament, you got a bunch of teams that if they get into the tournament, they're pretty battle tested. They're ready to go. You're going to have to do a lot to beat them. And so I think when you look at Florida, and Florida is a good basketball team. Good. I mean, at one point, I think I texted you and your dad, and this is before I really went back and looked at my tournament speculations. I really thought Duke and Florida were on a collision course for the championship, and maybe they still are. We'll see what happens. But I mean, if that happens, obviously I'll be a Dookie, hoping they win it. But like Bud said, there's still some good games to go. All the ones are still there.
Yeah. Because what else we got here? Obviously, Baylor, Duke. Illinois, Kentucky, that should be a tough one too. But St. Mary's, Alabama, Mike, I know you weren't too happy with Alabama's first round game against Robert Morris. And, St. Mary's played a really good game right off the bat. Because didn't they play? St. Mary's beat. Sorry, guys, I'm drawing a blank here on Vanderbilt. That's right, they did. Full 3-point win over Vanderbilt on that.
Yeah.
Do you think Bama struggles with this one, or do you think they come back and bounce back from this one and take care of business against St. Mary's?
I'm going to believe, again, you go back to the conference they play in, I know Alabama was favored in that first game, but I think it was 22 points, and they won by, 10, Bud? 8, something like that?
Yeah, I believe it was 8.
So they really struggled. And we do get those games, like we talked about, even with, aside from the women, you do get those games where the higher seeds do struggle, obviously. And that's just to be expected. I just didn't expect it with Alabama, that particular matchup. But it could be matchup. You're traveling. You got to get settled in. That team is going to give you their best shot because it's taken more for them to get there than you because they just don't have the talent base. So I'm going to say I expect Bama to come out and bounce back, Bud. I don't know what they'll be favored by in this game. I haven't looked at the spread.
I have it right here. Let me see. 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to believe Alabama covers that. No disrespect to who they're playing, but Bama's been around the top 5, top 6, top 7 all season, and I think that's going to.
I think it was just more of a wake-up call. I think because Bama, what was it last year before they were a 1 seed, they kind of struggled at the 16 a little bit too. It was kind of a wake-up, and then they went into the second round and won by 20 or something. I think some of these teams, I think it is a wake-up call to some of these teams to be like, hey, these guys are for real. And if you want to be a team that's going to get, knocked out in the first round and they're going to remember you, they remember you more for getting knocked out in the first round than it is winning that first round game when you're a higher seed. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't remember, and they're not going to remember that, oh, hey, Alabama back in 2025 beat, who did I forget who they played? Robert Morris. They beat them, in 2025 first round. They're going to remember Robert Morris beating Alabama in 2025 as a 15 seed more than anything.
Yeah. See, and that's why when you look at the Floridas and you look at the Dukes who come out in their first round matchups, I mean, Duke was up by 30 basically at halftime. I mean, they were sitting there players at the break or maybe the first 2 minutes into the second half. I mean, they're starting to sit players because the game is over, which is a benefit to them because you get reps for your backups and your bench guys to come out and get a little time in case they're necessary at some point during these last, however far you go in the tournament. And Florida, looked pretty good in their first round game. So these are the teams that have come out, answered the bell, dominated like they were supposed to. So we'll see. I mean, Florida and Duke may be on that clip, but watch Houston. A lot of good teams out there. There's still a lot of good basketball to go, folks. And I think now we see, the cream coming to that top, to quote the cliche. But I still think we're in for some really, really good basketball.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Mike, for sure. So last game we're going to talk about real quick before moving on here is just what do you think about Colorado State's odds against Maryland? And I said this before, and we talked about it during our tournament episode. I was digging the fours. Obviously, I had 1-4 going all the way to the championship with Texas A&M. I really liked Maryland the snap, but after seeing what Colorado State did, beating Memphis, do they have a chance to move on and beat Maryland in this game?
What's the spread? Do you have it right there?
7.5, Maryland. on that one.
I tell you what, bud. I like the Rams. I do football, basketball, and we both talked. We thought CSU was going to win that game. It was Memphis. This is a whole different dynamic. Maryland is a good basketball team. This is a good basketball team, and I really think, unfortunately, if CSU is hitting in all cylinders, maybe Maryland is slightly off. But unfortunately, for all you CSU fans out there, I just don't see
that's basically the tournament, right? That's why we play the tournament, is because it's a one and done. You just never know. You have that one off night. No matter what seed you are, you just have that one off night. It changes everything, right? So Colorado State is a very good team. They have a top rated basketball player on that team. I don't think they can pull off, but I don't think they're gonna get beat bad. I think this game's gonna come down to the wire. I think it is gonna come down to it, and I think Maryland will just have a little bit too much for them in this one, just to pull it off at the end. I could see it being like a 72-70 game, something like that towards the end, or 75-70. They just hit up some free throws at the end to kind of open up a little bit, but I could see something like that.
Folks, I got to say real quick before we get off basketball, college basketball in particular, I've watched a few of the shows, the analyst shows, pre-tournament, post, night action. Man, I miss Greg Gumbel.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
I really miss Greg Gumbel. I watched part of that the other night with Kellogg and the boys and Charles.
Yeah.
And I just, Greg was a very low-key guy, but he knew what he was talking about, regardless of the sport, and he just brought a real touch of class to whatever he was involved in.
I agree.
And I watched this the other night, and I literally could not help but notice him not being there. And what a loss! I mean, I miss Greg, and I miss him at tournament time too. But really feeling the impact of Mr. Gumbel not being there.
No, for sure, Mike. You're absolutely right. But I mean, what better way to fill that spot right there than with Ernie Johnson, right? I mean, Ernie Johnson's he's one of those other guys too that when he actually steps away. I mean, not even passes away. Unfortunate for that, but I'm saying just when he just steps away from doing this job of being an analyst, being a host, things like that. That's going to be a rough day for a lot of people too, because that guy has been around. He's a great person, great analyst. I mean, he does his job correctly. He does it right every single day. You don't ever not see him. He's always at work. He's always putting in work. And another thing, being able to have to put up with those three and still be able to be okay and tame those guys the way that they do, he gets all the kudos to me for that one.
Well,
can you imagine trying to keep those three in order every single night with them? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, above all, he's just and we've followed him and listened to a lot of his background. Phenomenal family guy, great parent, just a world class person.
For sure.
And like Bud says, when Ernie steps away, that'll be another huge loss for the sport, for sports in general.
Definitely. Well, since we kind of gotten into a little bit of basketball talk, now we're going to talk. I want to talk a little bit about, and we're calling it load management. But the reason I'm calling it load management is we all know what the load management is in the NBA. We all understand that what Greg Popovich did before to basically try to get him his rings and things like that. He sat these players. Now, this is getting out of hand for me. And the only reason I'm starting to get angry with this is because I'm a fantasy player. I love to play fantasy basketball, baseball, football, all this stuff. I've been into it. I enjoy it. I'm in a league this year, and I'm not kidding you guys. I had a tremendous draft. I was able to get Jalen Brunson. I got Jokic. I have Jaylen Brown on this team. All of a sudden, these guys are all hurt. They're all sitting, and most of them, they're saying they're injuries and stuff, but we know what it is, right? A lot of these teams are just sitting players to be able to be ready for the playoffs. And it's fine, whatever. I get that, I'm just being one of those, guys that just want to complain because it's my fantasy team. I get that part, and I get the goal is to win a championship or whatever, but we all do this for fun. We still give money to everybody to go watch these guys play day in and day out. So I'm talking about not just for me as a fantasy fan. I'm talking about even for the people going to these games that are paying their hard-earned money to watch these guys night in and night out. You got a guy that, barely makes his entire salary is to pay for his bills, pay for his house, this and that. He gets a little bit extra money. What does he do? He takes the kids to the ball game, right? Hey, let's go watch Embiid. Let's go watch Paul George and Kawhi. Let's go watch these guys. You guys go watch some good basketball. To show up and watch these guys in street clothes. I just dropped $300 on these tickets that I never have, and now I got to sit here and watch the backups play. Are you kidding me?
I think it was a game this past week. I told you about this. Oklahoma City, OKC.
Mm-hmm.
They sat for the entire game, not a quarter, not 5 minutes.
Yep.
For the entire game, folks.
Sat their starters.
All 5 starters sat out the entire game. I didn't think, if I'm listening to Commissioner Pena said, I thought this was no longer allowed. I thought that they were taking steps.
Well, unfortunately, that's why this is the players league now, because he ain't running nothing.
That's exactly it. See, this is, and I've harped on this for the last few years. Anthony could tell you this. I do not like this guy. I think he's a joke as a commissioner. He's nothing but he's not even a commissioner. He's just a prop for the players and appeasing whatever they need to do and what they want to do. And that's all this guy is. He's a walking, talking joke. When you have 5 guys and I'm not saying the guys asked to be benched. We know they didn't, but they're not going to challenge it. It's a free night to sit there and just do nothing. So who's going to challenge that? So of course they're going to say, that's fine with me. So you have 5 starters that don't want to play. So back to Bud's other point. Aside from being the fan, the dad and the mom who get the kids together, whether you have 1 kid or 2 kids or 3, and you get 1 shot to go to 1 game because you worked hard for it, and you're going to take the family out for a night. It's going to be expensive because it doesn't matter where you're at, whether it's Detroit or it's the Knicks or it's Celtics or whatever marquee team is. It's still going to cost you a small fortune to go see these games because you got the food items, you got the tickets, you got the parking, blah blah blah. So you show up, you have no guarantees that the guy or guys you're going to want to see play are even going to play, because much like LeBron did at the All-Star game, he decides at the very last minute, I'm not playing in this game. And so you really give them nothing to buffer with. They just have to scramble to figure this out. So it's this type of mentality that again showcases that athletes as a whole, but basketball in particular, that the athletic mentality is pathetic. The NBA mindset is so bad, it's almost like it's in the sewer. They make no effort, they have no conscience, they don't care to appease the fans who pay and help pay their salaries to put them on the hard court to play this game. It's a game. It's a game. Good grief.
I agree, and it just I just don't get where. And it's like, well, here's the thing. If you are injured, if you are completely injured, you gotta fine. You can't play. You can't play hurt. I mean, you can't play injured. If you got a broken leg, torn Achilles, it happened. That's just a bad break, right? Okay, unfortunately, you just get better, get your rehab in, come back for next season. Fine. It's the times that these guys, I can't play a back-to-back. I'm not playing. Why? When did you ever hear John Stockton say, I'm not playing a back-to-back? When did you ever hear John Stockton say, I'm not playing, period? Jordan 82 games. Stockton, 82 games. Kareem, Malone, all these guys, they played every single night, and they played hard. They didn't just take games off. Shaq has a story where he talks about he's playing in preseason, and they're telling him at the end of the game, hey, man, slow up, big fight. He's like, what are you talking about? We're 3-0. We're first in the division because they won the first 3 games. They're like, dude, this is preseason. He didn't even know what preseason was. He was playing hard. He's going out there dunking, hitting, and these guys are telling him, whoa, slow down, big guy. Like, no, those are the players you want, the ones that don't stop, the ones that keep playing at the high level. Those are the guys you want on your team.
One of the greatest stories I've ever heard, and you've seen it too, and I'm not going to quote him verbatim, but Anthony's seen this, and it's somebody talking to Kobe Bryant, right? And this guy is literally just talking about practice, right? Not the Allen Iverson practice, I'm not talking about practice. No, what I'm saying is Kobe approached this with this observation that if he's in practice and he knows that one of the guys that's supposed to be one of his teammates isn't going all out, then why would, this is Kobe talking, why would I, first of all, pass him the ball? Because he's not going to make the effort that I'm putting in to get the job done. So why would I pass him the ball?
Yeah.
It's a waste of my time. If that's how
right.
he's going to conduct himself in practice, then that's exactly what's going to transfer to the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
So my other point is this, and I talked to Anthony about this just today. So I'm using the Nuggets because this is the most recent example, and I've seen this before with Denver. But it applies to all the teams that have playoff possibilities. So here are the Nuggets right now, currently holding the 3 spot, or it's a 3 or 4 spot, bud.
I think they're in the 3 spot now.
Is it the 3 spot? So what you've done these last 2 games is you
4.
set Joker. The other night you set Murray, you set Joker, and I think there was one other player. You didn't play him. And
Yeah,
now last
I think
night,
you know what they lost. They got beat bad to Portland. I think they dropped down to 4th now. Now that you just mentioned that, I forgot they lost to Portland last night. Let me see where they're at.
So they don't play Joker against Portland.
They are. They're 4th.
But here's
they're
my
4th
question,
right now
bud.
behind
Here's my
Houston. OKC's 1, Houston 2, LA 3 now.
So here's my question. Does it not matter to you that you want to have home court at any point during the playoffs? Is this absolutely irrelevant?
It's because
I'm going to give you a real quick example. Let me give you one more example, bud.
Yeah.
Memphis is a prime example of this, right? This is a team that's hovering around the 4 or 5 spot right now, right?
They're 5th
and I'm
right
going
now.
to tell you because I can speak on this. Memphis isn't a Final Four. They're not a finals team. They're not that talented. But here's what they also are not. If Memphis does not get the 3 seed or the 4 seed, they are a second round elimination. I guarantee you this, folks. If Memphis finishes in the 4 spot or the 3 spot, they could advance to the second round. Could. If they don't get that spot and they're in the 5-6 spot, they're probably going to get eliminated in the first round and definitely in the second round. But teams don't want to play for any positioning anymore.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at this, and man, Mike, this West is crazy. I mean, other than OKC, those 2 through 6 are teams that they could make a splat. They could make a run because you're talking Houston, up and coming young team. That team is good. Houston's a good team. The Lakers, obviously, it's the Luka LeBron show. I mean Austin Reeves obviously doing really well too for them. Denver playing really, but they have to have Jokic. So this is the problem. It has nothing to do with the fact that they don't care about home court. They do absolutely care. They want home court advantage. It's just the fact that they don't have those other players that came off, the KCPs, the Bruce Browns from before. They don't have those extra guys that can come in and fill that void when he's out, so they got to rest him. They have to rest Joker, because if not, they keep playing him. He's going to be done by the time playoffs come, because that guy is literally carrying this team on his back. Literally. We talked about this in a previous episode about how Jokic is doing everything on his own. He doesn't even have a top 70 player in the league playing for him, including Murray. Murray's just fallen apart recently. So for Jokic, he is the Denver Nuggets. They have to sit him down. Now, they're going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of what seed and can they pick it up. The game last night, there's no reason to lose that game. No reason. They go ahead and beat the Lakers at one point without... Obviously, they didn't have Luka and LeBron, obviously, in that game, but they did beat the Lakers. How are you not able to beat Portland then? I get that Luka and LeBron didn't play that game, but the Lakers are a better team than Portland, even without Luka and LeBron on that team. Austin played that game. Connect is a good ball player. How do you lose to Portland without him? Because there's nobody stepping up. That's why they aren't losing this game. Nobody has taken that next step for the Nuggets to say, I'm going to help Jokic. I'm going to put this down his shoulder. Gordon is trying. But, I'm sorry, Gordon is not built to be that guy. He's a great defender. He can give you those points. What does he do? He dropped 30-something the other night. He can do that for you, but he can't do it on a nightly basis. He can do it for you and sporadically here and there. He can get you those games when he's got a good matchup, but he can't carry the load for you. That's why Murray needs to go to. But where's he? Out also, sitting out. So who else is coming out there? There's nobody that has stepped up to say, I'm going to take over this team. So Jokic has to sit. They have to hope to stay within the 4th seed or higher if they can, which I don't know if they can with the way that I've been watching them, the way that they look when he's not on that court. It is completely awful to watch this team when he's not on this court. Bud. It is awful.
See, that's right there. So if you know you can't do this, then why are you sitting Joker back-to-back games?
Because they need it.
I know good and well.
They have.
I know good and well he wouldn't want to sit, period. And I understand letting him rest. But let's get real here. Nobody needs to have back-to-back nights off. Give him a night here, a night there. That's fine. You still need these games. You're not good enough. If you don't have that 4 seed, that 3 seed, you're going to struggle.
I'm not going to lie, Mike. I hear what you're saying about he probably doesn't want to, but I would have said probably about 2 to 3 years ago, yes, Jokic would probably be like, no, just keep playing. I think he might even ask for this. I think he's getting tired of it. I think he is getting tired. I think his body's had enough, I think it's going to be one of those things where I don't think he's blatantly going to come out and say it, but I'm sure that there's been, you could probably hear, you can see in his body language that I'm kind of tired. If you guys don't take care of me, I'm either going to walk or I'm going to, and I don't blame him. You know what I mean? I don't blame him one bit if he wanted to leave, if he wanted to get out, because Denver has not taken care of this team the way that they should after winning a championship. They won a championship and they just said, "We're done." They keep losing players rather than gaining any to help out, and it's ridiculous.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, bud. I'm going to put Anthony in Joker's position, but it's Anthony. It's Anthony now. So I want your perspective real quick, bud. If you, Anthony, are the superstar in this team, and you know at this point right now, at the back end of the season, based on the team's history, and you know what's coming up, and Anthony's sitting there, he's had 2 nights off, is Anthony not looking at this like, freaking A, man? So the playoffs are going to start, and we're not winning some of the games I'm not playing. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to motivate for 4 rounds of this if we get that far. Because I'm going to have to, I got to take everything. I got to take everything for every single round we're going to be in if we advance. I am going to have to carry the load for these other 4 guys for their entire playoff run. What is Anthony going to be thinking about that?
For me, I'm wondering, and I'm probably going to step up and say, who's willing to help? Who's willing to be that next person? You got to sit your team down, and I don't.
But in the back of your mind, what are you thinking?
In the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking these guys got to give me some help, or if I'm thinking the way he's thinking, he's got bigger things on his mind. He's got other things outside his family, his horses, that he doesn't necessarily need to say. He's done all he needs. This guy's going to walk away with possibly 4 MVPs and a championship. That's a heck of. But I'm saying, for me, if I'm thinking like him, and even myself, I'm just talking about myself, not him. If I'm thinking of myself, okay, I'm already probably, I should win my. I'm thinking right now, I should win my 4th MVP this year. I got 4 MVPs. I gave this team their first NBA Finals ever, and their first championship.
I watched Anthony play basketball. I watched Anthony play high school basketball, folks, and he even played baseball. And the reason I asked Anthony is because Anthony played on some teams that struggled. But Anthony is a competitive individual, and by that I mean he's out there because he wants to win.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. For me, if I'm thinking I did what I have. If you guys don't give me no help, I'm all about the loyalty to the team. Okay, if you're not gonna give me help, I can just call it a career. I don't need to go and get traded off if I don't need to be. I have other things to keep me going. I'm still young enough that I'm not gonna be aching as I get older. I've already done what I need to. I gave you guys a championship, first ever. I'm a 4-time MVP. He's already a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. I mean, on top of that, he's already just broken records. He's already in the talks of top 5 centers, if not maybe one of the greatest centers ever. That's another discussion people can have later on with that. So for me, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'm just going to sit here and say, guys, I need help. I need somebody else to step up. And I'm probably going directly to Murray first. Said, you know, what can I? And first off, and you don't even necessarily need to get on these guys. It's what can I do to help? What are you struggling with right now? Because you're not the same guy that we were when we were in the finals. So what's going on here? What can I help you with something? Can we work on something together? Are we not in sync here now? Is there something off here? You know, same thing. And then you go to your other guys, like a Gordon. Hey, you tell him, though, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. Because he is the next guy next to you that is doing stuff. Keeps his momentum up. You know what I think? Then you go to the younger kids and say, hey, I need you guys to come in. And I don't need you guys to come in and drop 30. But I need you when I see you, because we all know what type of player Jokic is, right? He gets the ball inside. He's going to get double teamed. He's going to kick it out. You're going to be open. I just need you to hit that shot. I need you to be able to drop 7 points from me or something. Hit that open 3 when I give it to you. Not miss it. I need you to hit it. And that's all you really need to do. Get these guys going. Try to get some momentum going. But he's not that leader type. He's a great ball player that, you know, just keeps doing what he just does his job. He's that guy that goes to work. You don't hear from him very much. He just does his job. He's very good at what he does, and he goes home. That's what Jokic is. He's that guy at your 9 to 5 every day that just works hard.
The Celtics, you know, in that second matchup this year, where they pretty much beat up the Nuggets in that game, and the Nuggets had their guys, and basically without giving away secrets, you know, the Celtics said, hey, we kind of got some things figured out here with the Nuggets, and what we gonna have to do with Jokic to, you know, if we were to come into a 7-game series with these guys, we have a pretty good idea about what we'll need to do, you know, to get the victories that we need to get a championship. Now, obviously, you don't share trade secrets because you've got games you've got to play, and you may face these guys. But the problem for me is that, you know, at some point, and maybe they already do, you know, we don't know. The Celtics may have just put it out there. We got a pretty good idea. The other guys might just be, no, we're still working on it. But then underneath all that, they're like, nah, we kind of got this figured out. As long as Porter's, you know, collapsing like he typically does, Murray's basically a no-show half the time, Braun's still trying to figure everything out, Gordon can be pretty consistent, you got a little bit of decent bench, we can get this guy, if we can double this guy, and the other guys aren't on top of their game, which there's a 50-50 shot here, we can take them.
Well, see, there was plenty of this is the other thing. Before the trade deadline, they had plenty of time to go get certain players. And I heard about it. I mean, I think Jimmy was in talks. I know Zach LaVine has another. You give Zach LaVine, you know, somebody with Jokic, you got to give him somebody out. And I think you will realize if you would have got him a Butler or as LaVine, somebody like that. I mean, this team's destined for another final. They're up there. I think even if you give LaVine to Jokic, they're just as good or higher than Luka and LeBron, because LaVine and Jokic are still young. LeBron's getting older. I mean, LeBron's not the same. He is doing great. He has 20 years of playing still. He's still playing at a high level. He's still doing good, but he's not playing at Jokic level. And LaVine is younger. Luka's the one that has to take over more. Those two can counter each other out real good, and LaVine and Jokic would be great together. And I think they would be better than the Lakers. I still don't think they're as great a team as Oklahoma City, but I think they could still beat them, if that makes sense. They're like Oklahoma City's an overall great team, but those two guys, and if Murray was able to show up in a series, I don't see why those three couldn't take out a team like Oklahoma City, though.
So this is, and you bring OKC, and that's exactly where I was going in this next quick statement. So, question to you. So, kind of back to what we're talking about. I know we kind of got on a Nuggets thing here, but it applies to the NBA as a whole about load management, like Anthony's talking about and stuff. So back to OKC, but you know you got I don't know what it is now, 12-game lead or whatever, maybe over the rest of the conference.
Yeah, it's something. Let me see what it was.
But
12.5 game lead.
I don't care. How much?
12.5 on Houston.
Well, you got a 12.5 game lead. So, but regardless of that, you can't allow 5 guys to sit You can't do that. That's not competitive basketball. That's not fair to the fans. That's not competitive basketball.
Not only
You should have to have at
but
least 3 guys on that court that are your designated starters at any time.
not only that, what are you thinking as that other team? The team
Well, you're being disrespectful,
exactly.
first of all.
So it's like you're sitting all 5 of your starters against this. I would have a problem with that. And I would, you know what? I'm surprised that there wasn't some issues with this, considering how bad. I could see somebody be like, okay, you want to put your bench in? I'm not surprised somebody didn't get hurt, because sometimes that's what happens in these games, right? Sometimes they take a little offense to this. Somebody goes up for an easy layup, they get that hard foul, then you get some bench players hurt, right? I totally agree with you. I feel like it's disrespect on them to be able to sit there and say we can sit all these guys and not worry about it one bit. And this is the problem with OKC, and I think this is going to be the problem that they're going to come across come playoff time, is that they are going to get cocky because they are young. They're sitting out their players, all of them, giving them this big head like we're this good enough that we don't have to play all of our players to win games. So guess what? When it comes time to the big plays, the big moments, you're still young, you're big-headed, you're cocky. That can only hurt you, especially in the NBA. You get away with it in college, in college, in high school and stuff, because you're always the better players or you're the better team. You're just bigger, you're stronger, you're fast. Not in the NBA. Everybody's the same. You got players that are bigger, that are stronger, they get better teams that they catch you. You play a 7-game series. They could catch you on it on bad days, and Oklahoma City showed it last year. Why didn't they make it to the finals last year either? You know what I mean? They got beat out by a Luka and Kyrie tandem.
See, like asking you, but I mean, what would be your mindset if you are the guy on the Nuggets, and you're the same, you're like me. We've always been like that. Your dad's like this. My thing is, I don't want, as a competitive person and wanting to win, I don't want to have to potentially play a game 7 on the other team's court. If it's within our ability to secure home court advantage, I want this. I don't want to go to OKC. Now, that's irrelevant here, but if it wasn't, if you were 2 games, I don't want to go to OKC for game 7. I don't. I want to be in front of my fans, and if we're going to lose, let's lose at home. I don't want to have to deal with this in the process of everything else. So why don't we go out there and let's try to win this? Let's get that 2 seed, because at least that way we don't have to face Oklahoma City until the very last round.
You would think people would think that way, but
I can't wrap my head around that. I don't get that.
I don't know, and maybe we'll never know unless we take over a team, we coach a team, and kind of get to say. Apparently, we won't figure it out because we're still asking the question. This has been going on for how long, and we're still asking the question. You know what I mean? So I don't know, and maybe we're making too much out of this. Like I said, for me, I brought it up mostly because I was upset about my fantasy team. You know what I mean? And I get it. I'm just another one of those people. Oh, and then, the athletes. Oh, your fantasy, whatever. That's that doesn't mean anything to us. But that's not my main thing. Like I said, I also brought up the point where some of these fans, like I said, the fans, they work hard to go watch you guys. They want to. There's people that are die-hard fans for either you as a player or your team that you're on right now. So you get those folks that what's a perfect example? Just like me, right? My son loves the Nuggets, whatever. Okay, hey, we got some extra money. Let's go watch Jokic and Murray take on, LeBron and Luka, right? Both teams, right? Lakers are in town. You got both of them. Let's go. You're gonna go see some of the best players. You're gonna see LeBron James. You're gonna see Luka Doncic on Lakers. You're gonna see Murray and Jokic. These two have, made it possible for us to have a ship. You walk in, ready to go before the night. You show up early for shoot around, because that's what you do when you finally have a chance to go watch this. You go see the shoot arounds. You take the time to do all this extra. You don't show up at game day. We're not season ticket holders. You're going to see one game. So you show up at shoot around. You get to see maybe if you get an autograph. Then right before that, because you're there early, here's the key inactives. no Jokic, no Murray, no LeBron, no Luka. So now, well, Dad, where's, you got your kids sitting there. Dad, where's Luke? I'm sorry, man. He's sitting in that's Luka Doncic in, the street clothes. That's LeBron James. There's, And now you got to explain to your child why you don't get to watch it. Okay, well then, can we come back and watch it again? Well, yeah, but I got to, wait for the next, 6 months down the road when I have some extra money to do this. That's what I'm talking about. That makes me angry, right? Because everybody should enjoy watching these. Because I was able to watch these guys when I went. Mallow, Mallow played. He was at game. Unless he was injured. Kobe, as Laker fans, he played. Jordan, Stockton, Malone, they played and played and played. You could go to a Jazz game and say, I will see John Stockton. He goes, he is going to play. I'm going to the Bulls game because I will see Jordan play. Kobe will play tonight. Now I don't know who's playing. I don't even recognize who the starting shooting guard is for me tonight because they got everybody sitting on the bench.
What's funny is I literally could see a younger fan base. I'm talking about early 20s, mid 20s, maybe, somewhere in there, anywhere between 20 and 30 years old. Listen to this right now. Listen to me and you. Now here they go again, talking about this old freaking throwback crap from 100 years ago. All they're gonna do is just harp on the bunch of old dudes that used to do this and used to do that, blah, blah, blah. You know why Anthony and I do this? You know why not just we do this, but other people that refer back to these guys like, Anthony's dad. You know why that is? Because Bud just talked about this. Because those guys played. Those guys tried. Those guys gave a crap about winning. It wasn't just for contracts and commercials. It was really because they wanted to win. And that's been lost by the athletes that occupy the hard court now. Most of them. There's a few. But that's why we defer back to this, because it's not there anymore.
And when you say really play, he doesn't mean just show up to the game, put on the jersey, go out there, and look pretty for a few minutes so you can go on the bench. These guys played their 38 to 40 minutes if that's what they were asked to do,
and they played all the preseason games.
They did everything. They did it all, and these are guys that played to the point where they would get beat up. I mean, Jordan got beat up every time he went to the hole. He'd get knocked around, every single game. Stockton would, he was running around everywhere on the pick and rolls, Malone setting picks, going around, getting beat up inside. Shaq even. How is it that somebody as big as Shaq, who gets beat up, even him running up and down the floor, that guy never sustained injuries very much either. He stayed pretty much injury-free for his career at his size. And he played hard, and he bodied everybody. And he still played all the time. And you're telling me that these guys now they're better in shape, there's better, nutrition, there's better workouts, and there's LeBron's putting $1 million into his body. Okay, even if you're not putting $1 million in your body, if there's all this new technology that's way better, why are you guys sitting out so much, and why is everybody hurt?
Can you tell me something about, and we see it in all sports, but it seems to come up quite often in basketball, what the hell is a contusion? Isn't that essentially just, is that just like a bad bump?
I think so. It's like, like when you hit your funny bone and you have that lingering thing, I think that's what that is. I think that's what it is. I don't know. I think you're right. And you're right. That's what I'm saying. You look at the injury report and you're sitting here and you're like, what is this? You know what I mean? You know damn well, like I said, the reason those guys didn't sit out, because they didn't sit out just because, they had I jammed my finger, get the ball thrown at me during practice. That's what these guys are sitting for. They jammed their finger, wrap me up real quick. You've seen the videos. Kobe, dislocated finger, go in there, pop it real quick, let me go shoot my free throws. Where are those guys? They're not here.
No, it's amazing.
They're not here anymore. There's some guys, yes. There are a few guys that still play hard, that look like, but it's very low. The amount of guys in the league that still do it at a normal pace, it's very, very low in the league right now. Before, it was everybody. It didn't matter who you were. And that's why I hate the fact when I always hear these other guys, and we talked about like the podcasters and stuff, that are on now, that the old athletes, and they you know, some of them, they really hate on the old 90s and 80s and, you know, the 70s, because they're saying that he wasn't good basketball, this and that. How was it not? Because these guys didn't put up 140 points a game? That's not good basketball? Those guys actually played two ways. 1 through 5, most of them played two ways. Not like this game where you have 3 guys that can shoot threes, another guy that can get to the basket, and just another guy that's just there because he has to fill a spot on the roster. If you watch an NBA game now, everybody is around the perimeter. There's nobody inside. There is no inside presence in the NBA no more. Every single person is outside on the perimeter waiting for that 3-point shot to go in. It's ridiculous to watch. So because these guys would rather get inside, get fouled, go to the basket, play harder defense, bump these guys, or, you know, get to the rack for 2-pointers, or just shoot jump shots instead of the 3-pointer, that's worse basketball? That doesn't make sense to me.
And see, and that speaks right to everything we're talking about, what you just said, Bud, hanging around the outside of the, you know, the top of the 3-point line, stuff like that. So for the most part, then why do you even need load management? Because you don't play defense, you don't hit each other, you don't bump into each other, you don't challenge each other. So how can you possibly need load management? I mean, I don't get it. I'll never understand it. Like Bud said, we'll never have the answers that we're looking for because we can't relate to it.
Yeah.
And we never will. But I'm sorry, ultimately, it's not what basketball is supposed to be about. And
absolutely,
you know,
for sure.
I don't know.
For sure. I mean, sorry guys, we took a little longer on this one than I expected. So we're gonna take a quick break though. When we come back, definitely want to get into. Mike's gonna get into a lot of. I'm gonna kind of let Mike take over on this one because, you know, we're getting into some WrestleMania stuff, guys. I hope a lot of you are into this. We have brought it up before. It's that time again for WrestleMania. Mike wants to kind of break down a few things on that, and we also want to do our rank these. And if we have a little bit of time, if you guys remember, we used to do back in the day a thing called Beef of the Week. We're not bringing it back, but we did kind of want to talk about some of the things that kind of annoy us outside of sports. Something that you guys kind of talk about. We got a few things if we get to that point, but we're going to take a quick break real quick. We'll come right back with some WrestleMania talk. All right, we are back here, guys, and like I said, we're going to get into a little bit of this WrestleMania. I don't know, a lot of you folks out there are into the WWE or anything like that. Some of you back in the day talked about WWF. I used to be huge on it. Mike, I was a huge fan. I think we've even brought this up before when we talked about this. I used to be a huge fan when I was younger, guys. I used to watch a lot of it. I was a big fan of Stone Cold. Obviously, The Rock was another big one of mine. Kane, Undertaker. You know, I'm big on the OGs back in the day. I know that. Not a lot of them are still. The Rock is, obviously. Mike's, like I said, Mike's going to take a little bit. I have not been as caught up on my wrestling as Mike has been, though, guys. But for sure, Mike, take us into this. We got WrestleMania. It's in Vegas this year at Alliance Stadium, correct? 19th and 20th of April. Some big stuff, you know. You showed me some clips. I seen some stuff on here. Pretty cool to see The Rock back into it. John Cena, man, that guy's getting a little old though, Mike. I was watching. I seen him on there. I hadn't seen John Cena in a long time, but Corey Rhodes, right? I guess he kind of he turned his back on him a little bit here, right? So give us a little bit of what's going on here. What are some of the biggest matchups you're looking at? What are you most excited for on this?
Well, like Anthony mentioned, folks, obviously we talked about this last year, like Anthony also mentioned, but with WrestleMania, because that's WrestleMania, that's wrestling Super Bowl. I mean, there's different wrestling organizations, but the WWE is still the wrestling organization. It's where anybody and everybody wants to wrestle if they want to make a name for themselves. And again, WrestleMania is coming up in the middle of April, and that is their Super Bowl. So for a lot of you out there who are watching, who are wrestling fans, you kind of know what I'm talking about with this. Some that are sort of on the cusp, a little bit of an interest, kind of, convinced me to watch this type of thing. Anthony was a big fan, like he mentioned, when he was a kid. He and I used to share, conversations about some of the things we'd see. He was Stone Cold and The Rock, and and I liked all that too. The Attitude Era with Triple H and everybody. But some good things going on in wrestling right now. As Anthony mentioned with John Cena, he's in the process of 2025 being his retirement year. It's his 1 year going away party. And so a lot of people thought, he was just going to come in and he was going to ride the wave, be Cena going there,
so he's retiring, you said, huh?
He's retiring, okay. With his hustle, loyalty, and respect. Everybody thought, he's just going to ride this wave and roll off into the sunset and be the good guy. But here recently, there was a little bit of twist added to that.
I like that, though. I like that. I like when they make that kind of a twist, because it just makes it seem too easy. You kind of just see it coming. And I like when they throw the twist. I used to love the twists that were thrown back in the day. Oh, yeah. And obviously it sucks because they can't do some of the things they used to do back in the day. Obviously, like I remember back in the day, some of the stuff that I watched, I didn't even know if I was allowed to be watching that as a kid. I remember watching The Undertaker. I mean, he's throwing guys in coffins, lighting them on fire. I remember when they had the Blood Brothers with Edge, Christian, and I can't remember the other one, but they were doing like blood baths in the middle of the rings and stuff. And at that point, I mean, you can't do that nowadays in the ring. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't do a lot of things that they used to. But I used to love when they would have the change of scenery, something crazy going. When DX was made back in the day, they make these, rock and sock connections. When all of a sudden Mick Foley and The Rock came together. When finally Undertaker and Kane meet up, or when even finally Undertaker and Kane decide to become tag teams and they become tag teams. I love when they throw all these weird kind of things in on it. It does make wrestling fun. That's what makes it funner.
Yeah, and nobody really kind of saw this coming. So when he got in the ring with Cody, Cody's been the heavyweight champion now since WrestleMania 40. And he's been a really good, champion, so to speak. He's represented well. He's the face of the company. He's a face, he's not a heel. So everybody thought, wow, this is kind of cool. Him and Cena, maybe they'll team up. They'll do some things against The Rock, who's obviously, you don't know probably about, but he calls himself the final boss. The Rock does. So because he's a shareholder with the WWE, and he actually holds a fairly substantial position within the company.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so technically he can help make decisions. So that's been part of the storyline with The Rock is, hey, don't push me because I can make the calls. I can make you or break you. And that leading up to that twist with John, what led up to that night, Bud, was The Rock telling Cody, when you come into the ring tonight, you're going to give me your decision because I want you to give me your soul. I want you to be my champion, not the WWE's champion. I want you to be my champion. And so that all led up to, as you saw, where Cody tells him, hey, Rock, F you. That was him saying, I'm not going to do it. And so all along, they made it look like The Rock was prepared for this. So here's John. So if you don't want to do this, Cody, I've got something we're going to do about this. It's actually very brilliant. The more I
realize it, because when we're young, you don't see about this way, but wrestling is just kind of a big old sports soap opera.
It's theater.
You know, it's a soap opera. Sports soap opera for the people that are into it.
Every episode is, yeah.
It really is.
It's this ongoing soap opera. It's this next episode of drama, from the last week. And it's all about how you build it. And, behind the scenes, Triple H is the guy who navigates all the storylines. He helps come up with all this in the production meetings and everything like that. And he's phenomenal at it. And so you had this with John and the twist on Cody. So now that sets up Cody and John at WrestleMania on, I think it's night 2, but we don't know how that's all going to play out. What The Rock is going to do with this. There's another good setup that's starting to take place now between Roman Reigns and some of the names. CM Punk is going to be there, and the other Seth Rollins. It's a 3-way. It's a triple threat match with these 3 guys. Randy Orton. There's a guy that wrestles now, bud, called Kevin Owens, and this guy, one of the best wrestlers, I think, going, one of the best, at working the mic and convincing people. So he and Randy are going to have a match at WrestleMania. There's another girl, her name is Tiffany Stratton, and she's actually kind of funny, but she typically wears a lot of pink. But her big thing is, her name is Tiffany, so she abbreviates everything. Like, if you're talking to her, she's only going to give you so much time to talk to her because you're on Tiffy time. You're not on, right? You're on Tiffy time.
This is one thing I will say that I do like more about the WWE is that they have really got, and this kind of goes back to the women thing again, right, Mike? Women in wrestling, back when I watched it, they were just an eye candy. They really had nothing to do with if they actually had any athletic ability, the talent to actually wrestle. It was, they look good in a sexy outfit and this and that. Yep. Now they're actually getting women that they have the talent. They have the actual wrestling ability. They're jumping off of top ropes. They're whipping them around. Strong women that they are fighting like they really want this, right? They are doing this because they love what they're doing. Before it wasn't like that. This is something that I do like that the WWE has brought in more, is a lot more women wrestling. They're showing it a lot more, especially on the bigger stage here, like WrestleMania. Before, you didn't get to see a lot of these ones. Sometimes you would only get to really see a really good wrestling match on something like WrestleMania. You wouldn't even get to see it on Raw or SmackDown. They didn't play them a lot unless they were using them for some sort of an eye candy, or they're in somebody's corner just to mess up something and things like that. And I love that they have more women doing this and that are just as athletic as even some of these guys to be able to do it at their level.
Yeah, and you bring up a phenomenal point, Bud, and that's absolutely spot on. There are specific women. The entire women's rankings, you got a lot of good women athletes, but you've got ladies like Charlotte Flair, who I think is a 14-time champion. Don't quote me on that, but she's got at least 14. She's at least a 14-time champion. She's Ric Flair's daughter. You've got you haven't seen Jade Cargill. This lady, Bud, if you see her, she has the build of like a Miss Fitness America. I mean, this lady is absolutely shredded, but she's a very good wrestler. There's Bianca Belair, who's another lady. You can tell that just in their builds, very athletic, very in shape. And Tiffany Stratton, the girl who says Tiffy time, who's right now the current women's champion. She holds one of the belts, and she'll be wrestling Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. But these girls, to your point, not only do they showcase their ability to wrestle, they have the physiques to back it up. They're really good on the mic. Rhea Ripley is another lady that is phenomenal in the ring and just physically very impressive. And again, to your point, the women now are showcased a lot of times. They are the featured match. They're the last event of the night, which is the premier match. I mean, that's the one everybody shoots for. That's it. That's the show. And a lot of times the women are given that spot because they've earned it. I mean, that's how good they are. And so you got another, what looks like it's going to be a triple threat match with Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and possibly Naomi in an ongoing storyline between those three. Logan Paul, I know you're familiar with the name Logan Paul. This guy, Bud, has turned out to be, I thought this was a joke when he first started. I said, if this is what we're going to allow, if that's what you're going to allow, you're really going to diminish the product. But if you ever get a chance to look up some Logan Paul highlights, this dude is hardcore serious about this. He was a self-made millionaire before he even stepped into a wrestling ring, but he takes it seriously. I mean, he busts his ass. He's
Yeah,
got some
like I
moves that he
said,
does off the
I
top
haven't
rope.
watched anything. I
Oh,
haven't
it's
pulled up.
incredible to watch these guys.
I have not seen wrestling. Even when we brought it up, when we did ours last time for last WrestleMania, our last show, I still didn't get a chance to watch any of it.
Yeah.
I just haven't. It's hard enough. I can't even keep up with the sports that we watch nowadays. Even these tournaments and these NBA and it's hard to keep up with just any of that stuff. On top of the kids,
Well, not
school,
only that,
all
but
this and that with the other thing, trying to deal with all that and juggle that too. That makes it even harder.
I mean, typically Monday Night Raw is a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Friday Night SmackDown is or am I confused? No, that's right.
It used to be.
Raw is a 2-hour show. SmackDown is a 3-hour show now on Netflix. They went to Netflix this year with a contract with Netflix, and when they did that, they became a 3-hour program.
That's a long time for wrestling. Yeah,
that's 3 hours.
I was gonna say
not all marquee matches. This isn't WrestleMania where every match is a big match.
Even two stretching it a little bit, but sometimes when they're really into it and they got a bunch of stuff going on, different little things happening. You got these people fighting over here, this group, and this. They can make it kind of drawn out for 2 hours, but 3 hours is a long time for wrestling. That's a long time to sit there and watch that.
The only thing that buffers that is here we are. We're on the back end of March, the mid part of March. You got WrestleMania's about 4 weeks out. So each show, each Raw episode, and each SmackDown episode, a lot of what takes place now is going to be geared towards storylines that are directed at WrestleMania, so they have an impact, whether it's actually in the ring or just people talking to each other and running mic time outside the ring to help sell what's coming up. So that makes it interesting, but it still becomes difficult to fill 3 hours. Yeah. And even I struggle sometimes to commit to that. But there's going to be some really good matches. Anthony and I will be talking about that in little bits and pieces here leading up to that. Because Roman Reigns came out last night, and him and CM Punk and oh crap, again I can't think of the kid's name right off the bat. But anyway, the three guys are that are going to be in this match. Is that what it was? Seth Rollins, thank you, bud. So those three guys are ultimately going to be in a triple threat match. So they had part of that last night, and again some stuff with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and Cody comes out just about every week and talks about some stuff. And John now is making some in-ring mic time to help sell the heel turn. So it's really going to be fun to watch, folks. But we just kind of want to touch base on that. I watch what wrestling I can. I don't commit to 2 and 3 hours at a time. But like Bud said, there's still a few of those guys, The Rock, obviously John, and a few other people that extend back a way. So you kind of can invest in them because you have at least a familiarity with them. So that's kind of fun to watch, like with Charlotte Flair on the women's side and stuff like that. Some good names out there. But we'll be talking about that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's their Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it'll be for sure. Like I said, April 19th and 20th, guys. So keep an eye on that. We'll kind of remind you guys. We might talk a little bit more as it gets closer, as a reminder, and then obviously after, we can kind of talk about how things kind of turned out and stuff like that for those of you that are actually interested in the WWE. Like I said, guys, we try to talk about everything that we can. I mean, whatever you guys want to talk about, we got no problems with bringing it in. We may not be the best and not the most knowledgeable, but hey, we'll take the time to do the homework and try to figure it out. I promise you guys we'll do it. I promise you.
Because Bud and I talked about joining the pro circuit horseshoe toss, but I've got a rotator cuff.
And I was just too good.
Yeah, so it's hard to get that motion when you got that rotator cuff. So we had to sort of shelve the horseshoe competition.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Well, you guys know what time it is. It is that time. We are going to do Rank These. We'll be right back with it. All right, Mike. Alrighty. Here we go. The top 5 fast food restaurants. That's what we're doing today, guys. Fast food restaurant. He's going to do these blindly. I'm going to give him one at a time. He has to rank them 1 through 5 where he would put them. And like I said...
Okay, real quick. Do I have a lifeline for this
No, you
event?
only get 5. That's it. You just get the 5. You got to put them where you think you want them, all right?
I hate this kind of pressure, but all right.
All right. Number 1, we are going Taco Bell.
5.
Oh, not a fan of Taco Bell?
I like Taco Bell. You know what? I tell you, I really do enjoy Taco Bell. I'm a huge fan of the Dorito taco.
The Doritos Locos.
I love the Dorito taco.
I love Doritos Locos.
You know, and for some reason they got rid of the ranch taco,
No.
and I actually thought that was pretty good too. At least I think they got rid of it.
You know, their Dorito does really well. I don't care if it's a regular nacho cheese, if it's spicy nachos, if it's Cool Ranch. Doritos does really well. They're good. And I agree with you. I love the Doritos Locos taco. They used to do... I don't know if you ever used to get it, because I used to get it because it was cheap and it was really good. They used to do this as a shredded chicken burrito. And I don't even know if they still do it, because I'd try to find it and I would get it. It was like $1 for it. I'd get like for lunch if I was, at school and I was running low on cash and stuff. I'd run to Taco Bell. I'd give me a couple of, shredded chicken burritos and, the little cinnamon twist and a drink, and I was good to go. And it was bomb. They were good.
Back in the day, I'm talking 100 years ago, you could go to Taco Bell at 2 o'clock. You could go to Taco Bell at 2 o'clock in the morning.
You still can, I think.
You could get 15 tacos. You could get 35 burritos. You could get 75 Tostitos.
All for $10.
And a drink for $5.
That's what it seemed like. That's what it seemed like. That's what it seemed like. Oh my God. All right. So we got that 5th. All right. Here we go. Next. Chipotle.
Well, that's a tough one, bud. You're hitting home with this one. I'll tell you what. Man, that is a good one. I'm gonna go. I'll go 2.
2, okay, 2. So you're high on Chipotle.
I'll tell you what, I love Chipotle, folks. I love chicken. I love rice. I love black beans. And
they put it all together in one for you there.
Oh my goodness! A little bit of lettuce, a little bit of pico, the rice, the black beans. Oh my goodness, that is some good stuff. That is whether you get steak or chicken or pork. I love pork.
I'll tell you what. I usually get the chicken myself, a little bit extra portion with some rice and stuff, and the cheese and the salsa they have. My daughter, she loves. It's like if we give them a chance, when you ask the kids, we're gonna order. What do you guys feel like having? The first thing out of my mouth, Chipotle. I'm like, I don't mind Chipotle, but man, it's just that price when at the end of it, when you go to pay, that's where it hits you. That's where
what's really cool. What's the best at Chipotle, folks, is if you catch the right person that's putting your bowl together. And
I
maybe
get a
they're
bowl.
just
I usually get the bowl. I don't do the burrito. I do the bowl.
Yeah, I do too. But if you get the right person that's working the line, putting all the stuff together, usually there's 2. But if you get 2 people that really don't give a crap, they're not really paying attention to the serving amounts, and they just start dumping stuff on there, and you walk out of there with a bowl that you can probably hardly pick up because it's so heavy. I mean, that is the best in the world. Mm-hmm. Oh man, you get extra Chipotle. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And like I said, I love the bowl because what I usually do is the bowl. I usually get the chips and I eat it with the chips like that. And those chips that they have are good. I eat them all together that way. But
that is true because you can do it almost like a little dip.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
So we got 2 for Chipotle and we have 5 for Taco Bell. So next on the list.
And I would like to say that I know Bud's got 3 coming. I almost put that number 1, but I'm allowing for the there could be
we'll see.
Something here.
So the next one I have is Sonic.
Wow, see, this is where you caught me because I would have put Taco Bell ahead of Sonic.
But here's the thing for me. Here's the thing with me for Sonic, right? They may not.
Good hot dog.
Well, I was gonna say they may not have the best food, but doesn't those drinks kind of trump everything? You know what I mean? And when you hear Sonic, you're like, I gotta go. It's between what is that, 2 and 5 or whatever? What is that? Where you can get the drink for like half off or whatever. that all makes up for it. You get the Route 44, and it doesn't even have to be a pop, right? They do the cherry limeades that everybody, my mom and everybody, they love those cherry limeades. I think, you know, my wife, she loves the cherry Sprite. I think she gets from there and stuff. I mean, I could just go for, you know, a pop at a Route 44, but there's something about that. There's something about the fact that they kind of offer everything too, right? Breakfast. You can get breakfast meals from there. You can even you can just eat dinner meals, or they can do something on the go, real quick and easy. The mozzarella sticks, the corn dogs, things like that. Like they're like just real quick snacks while you're on the road to eat. That's what I kind of like about them. Well, obviously the drinks are huge, because here's the other thing: drinks aren't what they used to be. When you get a large nowadays at a restaurant, it's not a large anymore, right? So the fact that they could still keep going with these big old drinks, these Route 44s, kind of makes it good for them. But food is okay. Like you said, for me, I'm kind of the same way. Taco Bell and Sonic are just kind of intertwined there. It's kind of one of those things. Do you want to go for a taco and a burrito? Are you in that mood, or do you want to go get some, you know, chicken strips or a corn dog or something over here at Sonic?
Yep, exactly. And I'll tell you what, I don't eat there all the time. I've eaten there once. Eat there every once in a while. But I have yet to come across a Sonic, at least, you know, down here in the Tennessee, Mississippi type areas, and even sometimes back in Colorado. Sonics are extremely popular.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
Rarely do I drive past one, folks, that both sides aren't at least almost filled to capacity.
Yeah.
If you're talking outside of work schedule, and even sometimes on a lunch schedule, lunch break.
And they started obviously, because before, when they first started, it's that old, you know, it's that old school feeling of pulling in. They bring it to you. They've actually started making drive-throughs in these ones now to go all the way through there's one in Loveland that they do, and there's it's a drive-through that you go through to grab it instead of just going and placing your order through it. They're doing that now with them, because you're right, they are super busy. They do, and it's kind of the same thing even with Taco Bell, right? Because the other thing is everybody loves those Baja Blasts, right? That's the big thing. I'm not a big fan. I've tried it before. I'm not a Baja Blast type of a fan for it, but that's another thing why people will also like Taco Bell, because it's like, oh, well, give me a Baja Blast. Okay, you know, same thing. Give me a Route 44 if you're going there. You know, a Route 44 cherry limeade or something. That's what it is. The kids love it. I mean, my daughter gets a grape slushy, and they add the Nerds candy into it. Like, what kid wouldn't want that?
Yeah, exactly. And really, ultimately, I think they really are known more for their drinks than they're anything else. And like Bud said, the food is okay. I don't have any complaints per se, but it's just the atmosphere. It's got kind of like that throwback, almost like a 50s type atmosphere sometimes, the way it's set up, and those, like, where you pull up with the car and all that stuff, and just sort of hang out. So it's kind of got like that little bit of a throwback feel. And I do know also that I noticed this in Colorado and down here sometimes, for some reason, Sonics, Bud, really are popular with classic car people.
Yes,
they'll do car shows
absolutely.
at Sonics.
Because it's the old school
really cool
feel. It's that old school. You're going to the malt shop, or you're going, you know, down to the dining, and you're getting your food. That's what it's made for sure. So we got 2 with Chipotle. We got 4 for Sonic, 5 for Taco Bell. Next on the list, we got Wendy's.
Yeah, that fits pretty good. That'd be of what's been up so far. That'd be a 3.
I don't mind that. I like Wendy's.
In fact, I had Wendy's today. Okay, I gotta say this. I had this conversation today, and this amazes me, because I do like chili, and I've had a lot of chili. Now, I'm not like the spicy, you know, burn your insides out chili. I can't do that. I can do a little bit. But what surprises me, Bud, is, and I'm not like a chicken or a chili aficionado, but I've sampled enough to know what I think is pretty good chili. Wendy's chili is actually pretty rock solid.
It's funny. I've heard that. I have not tried the chili before. I have never tried a chili bowl. I haven't. I have not tried their chili bowl. Well, see, for me, this is what happens, right? Because for me, I don't get Wendy's as often, which is kind of crazy, because usually for me with the kids, it's the McDonald's thing, right? It's, what do you want? McDonald's, right? Maybe you get to throw a few other places in, like I said, my daughter likes Chipotle, things like that. But for the most part, when you go to a fast food, it's McDonald's. So sometimes when you get Wendy's, it's like, well, I haven't been here a while. I haven't had the spicy chicken sandwich. I haven't had the chicken. And let me tell you what. I think Wendy's chicken nuggets are very underrated, especially now the fact that they do regular and spicy. And those spicy ones are really, really good. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them, they can overcook them a little bit, it feels like, and some of them are a little hard. But when they're cooked right, they are really, really good. Not a big fan of like the fries though, or anything like that. Their drinks are good, but here's the other thing: there's always something there's something, and it's we keep bringing this up, and that's kind of why I'm kind of the way that they are with the. Who doesn't love a Frosty with the French fries, right? That's what everybody loves. I'm not the fan of that. I'm not. I haven't done it, but anytime somebody goes. Where are you going? Wendy's. Hey, bring back a Frosty and a false fry. And then you just see them like, why do you need the fry for? Why do you need a Frosty and a fry? And then you see them put it together and it's just, I get it now. Okay, I see. But that's another thing, right? The Baja Blast with Taco Bell, the Route 44 drink with Sonic, now the Frosty with Wendy's. Things like that. Chipotle is Chipotle. You can get whatever the heck you want there. You know what I mean? So I get it. I do like Wendy's, and that's kind of why I haven't had the chili before, because it's like when I finally get to eat there, I want what I normally would get. Whereas if I went and ate all the time, like we go to McDonald's, it's like, man, every time I go, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get chicken nuggets this time. All right, I'm gonna get a double cheeseburger this time. I'm gonna get a hot and spicy this time. I'm gonna try, something different each time. The quarter pounder this time, because we go so often that I can try everything. Where when I go to Wendy's, I was like, oh, I gotta give me a spicy chicken sandwich this time, or I gotta get me some chicken nuggets, and I don't try anything new because of that.
Yep, I'm the same way about it. So the two things that really stick out with me, one is the square hamburger patties. I always thought that was kind of curious to me. I don't care one way or the other. It's like, man, that's kind of weird, a square patty or whatever. But as much with the chili, this is kind of like your go-to. My go-to, because I don't go there very often, but my go-to with Wendy's has become the chili and a baked potato. They have some really good baked potatoes. So whenever I go, it's chili and a potato, and I always have to ask for extra crackers, because for some reason they don't want to give you a lot of crackers. So you really got to press the issue and say, give me extra packs of crackers. I don't know why I have to bargain over this. They're crackers for crying out loud. But it's just it's chili and it's a potato, and I gotta have extra crackers.
Well, you're number one on this list then for you, Mike, and the reason I actually made me think about this list, because I had it today before we got on, is Arby's. That's going to be your number one.
It is my number. What was available? Arby's would be in my number one.
Arby's good. Arby's is really good. I love Arby's. It's one of those though, again, where you can't go too much because it is expensive. But man, there's just something about that roast beef sandwich. You can get mozzarella sticks, the curly fries too, right? Curly fries are really good. Even their desserts aren't even bad there too, right? Arby's is very, very good. I don't think they get as much credit as they can, and I think they're a little more underrated because of the fact of how much it is to get it.
Been going to Arby's since I was a small kid. One of the first places, Taco Bell and Arby's was one of the first two places I remember my dad taking me to. Loved Arby's. The Arby's sauce. I don't know if they call theirs potato cakes or it's McDonald's.
Yeah, they do. They have potato cake. That's what they call them over there at Arby's.
But
those things, they're good.
Are insanely really good. That's like you got to be careful, because those potato cakes, that can be death.
They used to have.
Those things can be.
They used to have the molten lava cake. Did you ever remember those? There.
I remember it. Never tried it.
Goodness,
but I remember it.
That thing was dangerous too. That thing was good. It was really good.
Yeah. I'm more of a regular guy going there with just a couple of regulars. I love it when they do like the $5 to $6.
When I first got hooked on it, they used to do those. It was like 5 for $10. You can get just regular roast beef, 5 for $10. You have you get the coupons come in the mail all the time. You can get a bunch of them. And then I remember you used to try them, and I was like, what is this, a roast beef sandwich? Okay, I'll try it out. You start eating, I was like, man, this thing is good. And ever since then, I was hooked. But like I said, a lot of it has to do with, for one, my family isn't big on it. None of the kids, my wife, they're not huge fans of Arby's. So it's actually kind of funny, because there'll be nights where my wife and my daughter, they love seafood. So they'll get a seafood broil and stuff and just get all kinds of stuff in it. Okay. And they'll do that, and usually when they do the seafood broil is when I'll order Arby's for myself, and the kids and my wife will eat the seafood together and go to town on it, and I'll get Arby's to myself, and that's kind of how it'll be. It's actually funny. The reason I got Arby's today was because they messed up my order. We got a Subway was what we originally first got, and they didn't have what I wanted because I get the meatball marinara from there is what I get, and they didn't have any meatball ready, so I had to they had to cancel my order, so I ordered Arby's for me while the rest of the family got their cold cuts.
I'm also a big fan of their French dip sandwich.
Oh,
I really
my
like that
gosh,
a lot.
I love the French. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah,
oh
the
man,
really
that juice, the au sauce. That's what makes that
Exactly.
sandwich so good. People would think, oh, well, is it the Swiss, the roast beef? It's just the roast beef with Swiss. No, put it in the juice. There's a reason that they give you the juice.
Yes.
That's what makes the difference there.
Yes, it is absolutely. Anthony's not kidding, folks. That is, if you've never tried Arby's, you have to. Just go try something. But also their beef and cheddar. I like their beef and cheddar quite a bit too.
They're one of those where they have just so many, and they also now have even gotten into chicken. They have the chicken sliders, chicken sandwiches, hot. So like I said, Arby's, they have a big variety of things that you can get from them. That's very good.
Yeah, and they are a little bit pricey, but it really is worth it, depending on what you do with it, folks. At least if you just go once in a while, all right, it's not really that bad, but it is a little bit pricey as opposed to the others that are on this list. The last thing I'll say about Arby's is I learned this the hard way back when I was a little kid. This was a reheat on a regular sandwich one night. Dad wasn't watching me, so I said, "Yeah, I don't want to eat it cold, so I'm going to heat it up." Now, we all know what Arby's sandwiches are wrapped in. They're wrapped in aluminum foil. What Mike didn't realize is that you can't put the wrappers inside the microwave with the sandwich. So the flames, the sparks that came from that, this is how Mike learned that you can't put the wrappers inside the microwave. You want to hear
a funnier story? I did the same thing before. I had no clue. Right, obviously, it's just me and my dad at home. We had gotten Arby's. I wanted to get one for the afternoon. I figured I'm old enough to do this now. They've let me use the microwave. Let me just fold this up, and I've seen them do it before. Throw it in there. Pop, 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 pop. Oh, no. My dad was like, what happened? I was like, I don't think this is supposed to go in there. I don't think it's supposed to go. He said, no, it's not. So I got a paper plate. I put it on the plate, and I was still able to eat it. Yeah. It was fine. I was good.
Paper towel. Oh, yeah. But definitely lesson learned. But aside from that, I love Arby's. That would have been
good. Well, I love that list. That was a great list. That was a terrific one. Good to talk about. We have a little bit of time here, guys. I told you if we had a little bit of time, we can kind of talk about. If you guys remember back in the day when we did our first podcast, we used to do a thing called Beef of the Week, and basically just talk about things throughout our days, or week things that just kind of got on our nerves. And we're not bringing back Beef of the Week, but I just kind of, with a little bit of extra time, want to talk about some things that, Mike, it's things that just kind of annoy us recently. And you know what I'm going to talk about is I haven't been able to game very much, right? I haven't played as many games like I want to, be on the PlayStation. And recently, my son's gotten into more of Call of Duty with me, playing Warzone. I started getting back into it. I said, I want to play a little bit more. They're bringing back the old map of Verdansk, which is actually the first original map of Warzone when it first ever came out. They're bringing it back. I know you're not too familiar with all of Warzone, but they got rid of it, brought in other maps because people were complaining there was just a lot of hacking before. The map was just overdue. And then when they switched out of it, they haven't had a great map like it before, so now everybody's kind of getting excited about coming back. But my problem here is I'm playing this game now, and what I play right now is what's called, and some people of you that know, it's called Rebirth Island. It's basically a resurgence where you go out there, you get a team, you can play solos, you can play duos, trios, or even quads out there. And it's resurgence, so if you die before, I think it's like they disable it like in like the 5th round, like the 5th circle is what they call it. They disable you, but if you die, as long as your team stays alive, there's a counter. They can bring you back. You could come back as often as you can up until that 5th zone. My problem is when I'm playing this game is all I see nowadays is I wonder to myself, what happened to gamers? I'm seeing guys hiding in buildings, just not even getting better at the game. I mean, like, they're stacking. What I mean by stacking is all, you're playing like quads. I usually play quads so I can get with other teammates, have more rounds. Solos just gets boring. So play quads, but I'm talking like there's a team of 4 that run all together and they're just trying to kill one guy at a time. They're running like, that's what I mean by stacking. It's like there's no one-on-one gunfights anymore. It's all about just who can only move around the map faster. It has nothing to do with actual gun, how good you are with the gun, your shooting ability anymore. There's just no talent in gaming, and it's not even just Warzone. I watch a lot of this other stuff, and I just don't feel like the gaming is the same anymore, and I don't understand why that is. And for me, it's like, to my Call of Duty community, guys, I was terrible at this game when I started. I didn't know anything about Call of Duty. I was not big on Call of Duty when it started. Warzone was the first ever online shooting game that I ever really played, and I was just terrible. I'm terrible at the game still, but I've gotten better. I can easily. I mean, I used to have to get carried by the teams that I played with. I mean, I wouldn't get any kills. I'd barely make it, throughout the game. I'd have to run next to somebody just so I wouldn't die. Now I'm all over the map. I take off on my team sometimes to go get kills on another guy. I'm trying, I put up, I think my highest kill game was like 21, I think I got at one point, is what my PR is for that. But it's like, I just got better by just playing. And I went into gunfights. When I first started playing, it was always, let's just sit up here and camp and hide and wait for a team to come, or just wait for the end of circle and just try to win the game. And then for me, I'm like, I never got better that way. I felt like I got worse, because I was like, if I don't get into gunfights, how am I ever going to know how to shoot my gun? And then when somebody finally come and gets you, catches you off guard, you don't know what to do. You're freaked out, and then your gunfight's done because you're not good. So I had to take it upon myself to get better. But I'm just saying, guys, please get better at the game. It's a resurgence. You come back. Get into gunfights. Enjoy the game. It's a video game, for God's sakes. You're going to die for real in this game. Have fun with it. Don't take away from everybody else's fun just because you want to just worry about getting a win. And that's just my thing for me.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that because I really don't, I don't get involved in it that much because I'm really just not good enough, folks. Anthony's always excelled at it with gaming. But I didn't realize it kind of had that drop off. I just assumed that, you see all the games that continue to come out, and I'm not talking about just with the Maddens and Halos and all these other things like you're talking about in the war games, in the basketball and stuff. I just thought games as a whole, and I know reality, with the headsets and stuff like that is becoming more popular now, where you sort of get immersed in the game. You almost feel like you're part of the game.
That's the thing is for because like you say, like, for me, if I'm playing Madden, if I'm playing NBA, whatever, I don't need to have Warzone. It's all about hearing. You have to wear those. You have to hear where your enemies are, where everybody's coming from. You have to hear everything. So you need those. And so you have to be involved. And so for me, that's the thing that gets me the most and that I hate is I'm working hard to try to get better at this game, but then it takes away the fun when you're running all over the map and then you run into a building and there's 4 guys just sitting in there just waiting for you to come in and just kill you. And it's like, dude, you're 4 grown men sitting here in a building watching you just to all kill you at one time. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't get it. And it's funny, Mike. So, like I said, I haven't got to play more. I'm trying to get on here more, and I recently just last night I actually just got the new NHL. I haven't played an NHL game in a while, and man, I'll tell you what, I'm usually stuck to the Madden, the 2K. Even I got the new PGA game. That game is insane. But I played hockey last night. That might be the best hockey game I've ever played so far. This year's 2025 NHL might be the best game I played so far. I played last night. I played the Avs. I always have a ritual, guys, when I play a video game. When I get Madden, I always have to play the first game. It's got to be Denver against Oakland. That's just what it is. It's the rivalry. I'm a Bronco fan. Worst team that we hate is Oakland. It's just part of it. I always play that first game no matter what. Baseball, Rockies are my team. Royals are my second. I always play that first game between them two. In Coors Field, because I want to see what Coors Field looks like on the new stuff. I got the MLB The Show. It looks great. So last night in hockey, it's always Avs against Red Wings. I lost the game 4-2 last night, but I will tell you what. In hockey, usually with the way that they do their like difficulties and stuff, it's really hard to gauge. It's like the last one I played, I think was 2023 or 2022. It's like either your level is there's like no in between level is what I'm trying to say. It's either way too hard and you're just getting beat by this team and it's hard to stop unless you have a really good team, or it's like it's way too easy and you're winning these games by 6-7 goals and it's easy to score. So I was like, that was why I was kind of hesitant to get it, but I got it on a deal, so I was like, I'm gonna try again. I'm not kidding you. I lost 4-2, but it was so competitive throughout the whole entire game that I was involved. I have not been involved in a game like that like I was. I was cheering when I scored. I'm getting knocked over. I'm checking guys in. I'm sitting here. I'm surprised my wife was like, what's wrong with you? Because I'm like, no, man. I was going nuts playing this game. And I was like, man, I have not had that much fun with the game in a long time. And come to find out, it's hockey, right? So I'm going to try to maybe get a little bit more into this because, like I said, I want to play Warzone more. I'm waiting for Verdansk to come in. I think it's coming in April sometime. I think there's maybe like 10 days or so left, 13 days before the new map comes out of that Verdansk. I'm going to try it out when it comes out, see if things kind of change, see if things get a little bit better. But I'm kind of getting to a point where I think, and a lot of people are too, and even these streamers, a lot of streamers have gone away from Warzone. Warzone's kind of dying a little more. This Marvel's Rival is kind of the bigger game that's kind of going on right now that a lot of people are playing. Apex is still a big thing. Fortnite still hasn't gone away either. That's another big one that a lot of people will play. There's also a game called Tarkov, which is kind of in a way like Warzone, but it's just a lot more harder. You got to be a lot more strategic. It's a little bit more, got to be a little bit more calmer when you play this game. And man, I guarantee when I watch this, every time somebody streams, you got to be precise with your shot in that game. Usually, like in Warzone, you can miss a little bit and you kind of take off running. You can kind of use your movement. Tarkov, you got to be on it. I've seen something. If you're not on your shot, they're gonna kill you. They'll kill you easily in that game. But it just seems like maybe sometimes there's just. Maybe there's just that wave of video games that just it's kind of up and down, and there's some video games that you're on the down, but you find maybe one, and I think maybe hockey's that one that I've just found like a diamond in the rough that I could play a little bit more because 2K's always fun. That's one game that I can never not play because I love that they do all the old stuff. They got the old players. I could play old teams. The NBA career to it, being able to play the street version of it and being online. 2K will always be great for that, and they'll never lose that. Madden can get boring real easily. I'm not an online player, which is probably why it gets so boring for me easily. I could play 4 or 5 seasons right away, and then it just kind of dies out. The show is always fun because you could do so much to it. That's why Madden needs to find a way to do extra. You need to be able to, not just the ultimate team and not just being able to do fire. You need to find, Madden needs to find a way to be able to bring back either old players or old teams that you could play with on there. If they could do that, holy crap, I think Madden would spike. If you can go and play, if I could be able to say, man, I could play with the 98 Broncos and have everybody on that list against, the 2017 Patriots, the undefeated team, all these different types of teams, play, the old 80s 49ers against the new age, Chiefs and see, Montana versus Mahomes, things like that. I think that would be cool to see, but they don't offer that. Now you have to go through, if you want to get the old players, yes, you can still get them. You got to go through, the ultimate team and the ultimate Madden stuff. But I don't got the time to do that. I don't have the money to spend to drop all this money to get all the extra things. I don't have the time to sit here and grind out ultimate team to get all these old players. That's why I love NBA 2K. I can go in there and just do a draft of all these old players and put a team together of old school. And I'm talking old school. I'm talking they got Wrestle on there. They got Kuzi, right? They got Kareem that you could play with. And it's just out there to play. You don't have to unlock these guys. You don't have to go and play for 15 hours straight to get these guys onto your team. They're right there. You can go play with an old team. I could play with the 98 Bulls against the 18 Warriors and see what team was better. I can do that with this game. And that's the thing that I love about it. Same thing with MLB. You can play with all the old guys too.
One thing I noticed is I like to get on my phone once in a while, folks. Anthony knows about this too. Because sometimes if you get I'm not talking about a golfing game, because that kind of fascinates me with golf on the phone. because I'm kind of surprised sometimes with the graphics that you get on a phone
Yeah.
for the golf course. It's actually pretty good. But I get on there, right? And Anthony knows this, and a lot of you know this if you do it too. But you get on there, you start playing, and then you can literally only get so far because you can't play Augusta because you got to pay to do it. You got to buy this, you got to buy that, you got to buy the upgrades in the golf bags and the golf clubs and the golf balls. And I'm just like, I just want to play the game. I mean, I'm not trying to become a professional golfer. I'm trying to occupy some downtime and just play on a nice golf course. But you won't even let me do that.
You're right.
I got to buy this and buy that. And I'm just like, and and it kind of it gets on my nerves after a while.
That's the same thing with a lot of these games are like that now. That's the problem, is that everything is like Warzone used to be. It was like, it's a free game. Yeah, but you have to spend. But everybody spends every season that a new thing comes out. They're dropping $100 because they want to get the new skin that comes out, that new gun that does this and that. Call of Duty was so smart to do all these things where they brought out these blueprints of guns that, oh, you can show it off and it's, flying away from you, or it's, shooting fire out of it and things like. All the kids want it. Oh, I want this skin. My son's the same. My son asks my wife constantly, Mom, can you get me this skin? Can you get this skin? Can you get this? And it's like, dude, man, like, just because you got a skin, it doesn't make you any better at the game. You still got to play. You still got to get better at it, okay? But that's the thing is, it's a free game, but it's not really, because you still got to buy Black Ops to do the zombies, to level up the guns for the Black Ops guns that came out. There's going to be new guns that probably come out for Verdansk that you're going to have to build, that you're going to have to level up, so you got to buy that game, that whatever that comes out through it, or whatever levels up. Then, like I said, there's always skins that somebody wants. Like right now, the new thing that came out, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Terminator was on there. So you can get the Terminator skin, or you can get all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then, we did beat the level that they had, like the battle pass thing. So we got Splinter as a reward for it. But you can have all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles if you want as a skin to run through. Cheech and Chong are on there. You could use them. Snoop Dogg is on there. They've had Rambo. They've had Bruce Willis from Die Hard on there.
You know who else is on one of these games? I mentioned Rhea Ripley.
Actually, you're right. I was going to bring her up when I brought this in. You're right. Rhea Ripley is on the game. And we have her as a skin. I mean, she's one of us that we could use. We have her. My son got him on there, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my goodness! You know what cracks me up is I just to change it over for a second. I'm watching this the other night, and I'm always fascinated by foods. I get fascinated by commercials with foods, especially when it's candies and all this other stuff. I'm watching this commercial. I have yet to see this product. It's a Reese's product, and pizza commercials. Pizza commercials fascinate me because never an amount of cheese. You can never have enough cheese on a pizza. It does not matter. You can have a 5-cheese pizza, a 6-piece cheese, or a 6-cheese pizza. You know what, Bob? The pizza doesn't have enough. We need to literally roll cheese inside this crust. We'll roll it up, and that way they can eat the cheese inside the crust when they get through the cheese part of the pizza. I don't understand this fascination. So I'm looking at this commercial about Reese's, and I love Reese's. I really do. I've always liked Reese's Cups. I see this commercial, and so their newest invention, and Reese's has like 35 different products. I mean, they got the Reese's Cups. They got Reese's Pieces. They have Reese's everything, and absolutely. I love Reese's.
I do too.
So I'm watching this commercial, and I know everybody's probably seen this by now if you have a candy fascination. But so they have this new product out called like a Reese's lava thing, where this chocolate lava, you bite into the Reese's, and this chocolate lava will just come oozing out like a lava cake. That's what made me think of this when you mentioned that. This is already going to be what I was going to talk about. It just fascinates me that, is the peanut butter part of this really not enough? I mean, you can have, and they've got Reese's with like Reese's and peanut butter with peanuts in it. And they have Reese's chocolate.
It's like, when did the cups just not be enough? Because that's my thing. Because that's my thing is I'm okay with I'm just good with the Reese's cups. I'm good. Just give me a 4-pack or the big cups, the 2-pack of the big one, and I'm good.
Yeah, because you got the big cups. I mean, I just don't understand why you now have to insert a needle full of chocolate fudge inside this Reese's thing. So when you bite into it, it comes out looking like some type of perverted like volcano. But my biggest thing is, I mean, don't you people ever have any fascination with like making a better stick of broccoli or a bigger carrot stick? I mean, are we just so? Is that
No,
all that we
no.
want? Is the chocolate-filled Reese's cup? This
That
is what's gonna be.
that's exactly what we
They
want.
have Reese's donuts, Reese's donuts, which I'm actually a big fan of. If you ever get a chance, do try a Reese's donut. That's the best, one of the best donuts I've ever had. When you bite into a Reese's donut, and there's that cream filling, it says that peanut butter cream filling. You got the chocolate icing on the top of the donut, and then you got that peanut butter filling inside. Man, if you're not headed to a hospital after you eat one of these,
I was just gonna
then
say,
you're.
way to go, Mike. All of our fans are gonna be mad now. We're gonna get them diabetes.
But yeah, but if you're gonna go out with a Reese's donut, folks.
Might
You
as
can't get them
well.
year round. Get one, grab it. But I
Oh
don't
man.
understand why we just can't make a better broccoli stick. I mean, we don't need another type of Reese's cup. Why don't we just make a Reese's pizza and throw some cheese on it, and then we can combine both tragedies at the same
Or
time?
something. I don't know. You're right, but I agree with you on the Reese's. I'm okay with just the cups, guys. That's it.
Not like Reese's
I'm okay
pieces
with
too.
it. The pieces are good.
Yeah.
The pieces are good. And you know what? I can't. I guess I can't lie because I've got. Have you ever had those fast breaks too? The Reese's fast
have.
breaks. Those are actually really good too.
And Reese's cereal.
I never had the cereal.
It surprisingly tastes quite a bit like a Reese's, like I guess a combination of Reese's Pieces
I just
and
don't
like a
feel like
Reese's
that would just
itself.
be great to me. I mean, I'm sorry, but there's a lot more other cereals that I would enjoy before that one that I'd even try. I mean,
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, so for me, I'm like, nah, I don't even want to try it. I don't even want to give it a chance.
Yeah, there's a lot out there that I won't try. That one, I have a fascination with the Reese's. I do, folks. But when you start dropping chocolate lava out of one, I think we've reached the zenith of Reese's abuse. I mean, we need to stop it.
You're right. You ain't wrong. That's for sure. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys once again for being here. We went a little bit over than we normally do, but hey, we love doing it because we enjoy being here for you guys every single week. Glad we can get some stuff in. We got a lot of good things in. We got some tournament talk in. Let me see before we go here. Anybody that's still watching, let's see what we got here before we go. That's where we kind of ended out here. I know we had some close ones here. BYU did end up pulling that out on Wisconsin, 91-89. There was a close game there. We got Houston up 76-72 on Gonzaga with 1:10 left, and Tennessee is up 32-25 at halftime. So maybe, guys, as you get off of here, tune into that end of that Houston game and kind of watch the rest of that UCLA, see if they make a little push there to knock off Tennessee. But it's nice to see BYU get that win for sure. But like I said, good talks about the tournament. Hopefully you guys, hopefully your brackets aren't gone like Mike and I did say. Ours is pretty much gone. Our brackets have been busted so far. So hopefully you guys are still doing good. Let us know who you guys still are rocking with, if your team's still in. And then we're also we appreciate you guys tuning in with us with the WrestleMania. Hopefully we can get some more talks to that later on. Talk about how the matches went after. Maybe I might be able to try to catch some of that this year so we can kind of get a little bit more in depth on these two and stuff like that. But once again, like I said, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to leave us messages on how you thought we did today, anything that you want to talk about too. Like I said, we don't mind talking about other sports or any other things that are going on right now too. We'll try to get as up to date as we can on it for sure.
Yeah, and like Anthony mentioned, folks, yeah, the like, subscriptions, just the input is always greatly appreciated. Because Anthony and I never claim to be experts on anything. We're just fans of sports as a whole. And when you're like that, you always lean to other people sometimes to give their point of view too. But we just love talking sports. It's just what we've always been about, and it's what we love doing. But so yeah, anything that you feel like we can improve upon or talk more about, obviously we're open to that. But as I do every week, again, everything you see, everything you hear, the graphics, the sound, the little, pictures that you see during the broadcast, video clips, whatever happens with this broadcast, this man to my right, or possibly your left as to how you're viewing it, everything you see does not happen without this gentleman next to me. His brilliance, his ability. He's just a technician savant, and he's the go behind this channel. And without him, it just literally does not happen. So as always, my kudos to Mr. Anthony Alvarez for all he does each and every week with this broadcast.
No, I appreciate it. We do. Like I said, every week we do put in as much work as we can. Mike and I are constantly talking about things each and every week, guys, for sure. So we never forget about you at all. And like I said, if you like what you heard, like what you've seen so far with us, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It helps us a lot more than you guys think, for sure. But we appreciate you guys every week coming in. We will be back again next week, Saturday, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. So please, appreciate you guys once again. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the night. Like I said, tune into these games if you get a chance. If not, go and spend some time with the family. Enjoy your Sunday also. And let's have a good week this week, and stay safe out there, folks.
Have a good weekend, folks.